My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Oh, so obviously, yes, it is DK time, if you want to call it that, Jake. Yes, absolutely. Some of you have kind of accused me over the last few days, I would say, of not enjoying this matchup. You know, you said that like, oh yeah, Damien, I'm sure you're gonna like doing Zverev Djokovic. And actually, I have to say to the contrary. I mean, I've always liked this matchup. I think it's not Zverev Medvedev in terms of just them dragging each other around the court for like 5 hours, playing very meekly, and yeah, not being able to feel the confidence on their shots. Let's say Zverev Djokovic, I think, always has been rather entertaining, pretty competitive. At slams, it's been difficult for Zverev, definitely. But who knows? I mean, Djokovic is 38 now. It seems like a pretty open match. Both of them have enjoyed a pretty comfortable path, I would say, to the quarterfinals. Well, it didn't need to be. For Djokovic, maybe it needed to be because the highest ranked opponent he was facing was Mute. But he still handled that, obviously, just, straight sets every single time, absolutely no bother. Whereas for Zverev, there were potential issues like Hrikspor or Koboli, and for this reason or another, these issues were not just like they were not applicable on the day, especially Koboli, I guess, he had some chances in the second set tiebreak. Maybe if that goes a little different, who knows? But in terms of Hrikspor, obviously there was also an injury issue in there, and that's more so what stopped him rather than actually Zverev showing something amazing. I would say both of them in this tournament have not shown anything, but also they didn't have the space to. I mean, if you're beating your opponents this comfortably, there's not really like a possibility for you to be, so amazing that everybody is just going to be paying attention to it. I guess unless you're beating people like Yannick Sinner, is sure. But, well, that's Yannick Sinner. That's another player who is already in the semifinals and who will play and likely beat one of these two dudes. But for now, let's just enjoy Zverev against Djokovic. Starting the match actually on a stream that's slower than the one I usually use, so you might be surprised about that. But anyway, second serve from Novak on the very first point. What else is there to say? I mean, Geneva, obviously Novak won it. Seems like it got him into nice rhythm. Last time they played was Australian Open semis, and while I said earlier that Zverev has had issues performing against Novak at slams, actually there he won, but obviously that was due to the retirement of Djokovic after the opening set. Was he still going to win the match in the long run? Probably. But, well, we can't know that. And right now, Novak seems to be doing a little bit better, maybe even. So let's see. First point goes to Zverev, as Djokovic is going to try to hit this drop shot lob combination, and Sasha is there to smash it away. Obviously, if the depth on the lob from Novak was better, then potentially this was going to be a good play, but not on this very instance. Last year, when Novak was playing Roland Garros, he was also considered as one of the players in the mix, mostly because Alcaraz and Sinner weren't that strong. This year, it's more difficult because potentially to win the title, you have to beat. Well, right now we kind of know already that you have to beat 3 very good players in a row. We just don't know if it's Musetti or Alcaraz yet in the final. But from Novak's perspective, I guess we know most of the draw that he would have to defeat now. Not even have to give it any asterisks. By the way, what a sensational running forehand here from Djokovic. I feel like Zverev maybe could have expected that, but maybe just wasn't thinking that Novak would go for that shot. But nonetheless, it's a fantastic forehand winner on the second point of the match for Novak. What I was trying to say is that last year he was also considered to be, in contention. Had a couple of very long 5-setters in the first week against Cerundolo and Musetti. That's when the knee injury flared up. I think it was the 4th set maybe against Fran when that happened. So obviously overplaying there, just all these difficult battles that contributed to, for sure. And we're just going to have to see if this year can be different, because he has enjoyed a much more breezy path to the quarterfinals, and he just hasn't really had the opportunity to tire himself out. So the fact that he is 38, if it shows up today, it's going to be due to the intensity of this match, not due to the intensity of the entire tournament. If he's able to keep the points nice and short, like here, the backhand cross court, that's going to be very helpful. Usually you can't end a point against Zverev like that, but he just kind of did it at will. So yeah, we'd love to see more of that today from Novak, and that would ensure that he has a shot. I'm saying that as if he was like the underdog or something. It's very tough to say who is the underdog, to be honest. Another exchange, Novak throwing in the slice. Zverev had to come in and take that backhand a bit more earlier. Was a bit uncomfortable on that, but you can see he survived that somehow and gets the error from Novak, 30-all. They played at Roland Garros. Actually, they've only played twice on clay, by the way, and one was at Roland Garros years back. Was it, 2020, 2019, 2021? Anyway, one of these years, and Zverev was defeated pretty easily. And then they also played, their very first match was on clay in Rome in 2017, and there Zverev won. Obviously, that was not the best year for Novak. He finished number 12 in the rankings, I think, or something like that, or dropped to number 12 at some point. Anyway, he wasn't doing that well, and was definitely not at his strongest. But it might be pretty surprising if you just kind of like look back and think, oh, so Zverev won their first meeting and that was on clay. But yeah, haven't played on clay in many years, so Zverev is looking to reach his 4th consecutive semifinal here, which is quite an achievement, not gonna lie. Or is it 5th? No, it's 5th. Sorry, yeah, 5th. It was 3 consecutive semis and then one final, obviously, last year. So even 5th, yeah, which is pretty insane. But it's also rare that in the quarterfinals he had to battle against someone like Djokovic, so it won't be that easy. By the way, breakpoint coming up here. Zverev barely gets to that Djokovic forehand, but the squash shot type response, it wasn't a proper squash shot, but let's just say a forehand pickup that he's able to play. The short ball is shanked by Djokovic, or at least mishit, and it's going to be a breakpoint in the opening game. Of course, it's clay. We're going to see them breaking each other's serves quite a bit. I doubt we're going to have one break sets, or at least not many of them. But still, would be a good start for the German. Definitely not tempted to do much here. Zverev just kind of throws in the heavy return, starts the rally. That's a really deep forehand from him. Could be enough to win the point, and it is. So it is an early break. Marcelo Melo, of course, in Zverev's box here, one of his best friends. They often vacation together. They play doubles together as well. One example was quite, let's say, tumultuous when Zverev, of course, had that chair umpire incident. Snehil is very nervous. Yeah, I think Snehil, that's kind of the point here for Novak, where if you don't believe that he can win the title, maybe that's how you can kind of treat it. In the case of a potential loss, maybe you can just think he probably wasn't beating Sinner anyway. But I know that that's not really how it works for if you're a fan. I definitely didn't have that feeling with like Federer in some matches, so I totally understand that if that's not really possible for you. Virtanen, yeah, that's cool. Obviously, grass courts Birmingham tomorrow. The rest of the second round, Otto just scored a good win over Vukic. Last year's grass season was rough for him, but back in 2022, was it? He had a great run in Surbiton to the semifinals. And well, you can imagine that the big serving, the net approaches, it's all pretty good on these sorts of courts. Slick conditions, he also likes that. Indoor master. Anyway, let's see how Zverev gets off here. That's more aggressive than he was playing on return, that's for sure. Approaches after the forehand, and that serve is just going to be massive, 212. Serving will generally be, I think, a big part of this match. Novak, in his 2025 stage, I think he kind of needs it to just be more aggressive and keep the points a touch shorter at least. And Zverev, obviously, we know that he's kind of like a big serve defender. So getting a lot of free points is obviously, just a cornerstone of his style, especially considering the high accuracy that he has on the first serve. He actually hasn't made this one here. So maybe it's a chance for Novak to grab a point. Let's see. Very deep return at the middle of the court. I feel like this. Okay, I think that's just out by Zverev, but it's pretty close. A lot of the like Djokovic Medvedev matchups, they've been about like who can out rally each other off the ground. This one might be as well. We're not really gonna see any, massive risks taken by Zverev, right? He's probably going to be content rallying with Novak mostly, and then we'll see if that actually leads to anything good for him or not. If it doesn't, maybe he'll have to adjust. But so far, you can see he has a lot of time on his ground strokes, just makes sure to produce them pretty safely with decent topspin, decent pace, decent depth. And thus far, obviously, landing him the break. This was a nice +1 forehand, but Novak was really wide out of the court after the serve. This is another like high percentage serve. Maybe Novak has a chance to do something here, but on the inside in, he's actually going to miss it. So, yep, good start for Zverev, that's for sure. Haven't really seen anything like in terms of what Novak wants to do yet. It's just not been it's just been a somewhat unfortunate start for him for sure. And well, he hasn't had a chance to show us yet what he's made of today. Switches his racket. Maybe that's also because of the tension on his strings being not exactly what he was expecting that he would need. Let's see if this has any positive impact. Both players doing some changes to their rackets, I think, as Zverev's dad was just regripping another one. So probably Sasha is also going to switch. I'm not sure. Conditions earlier today were quite rainy, humid. I don't think they are anymore, but they were definitely impacting the play early days into today. And here we have the roof open, obviously. But it's also a night session match, so should be kind of naturally slower. First moment of, well, actually not the first moment of magic. Novak had that beautiful forehand winner earlier, but this half volley is also quite good. Surprises Zverev with the serve out wide here. The chance to block has been missed. Yeah, sorry for that. That's some idiot on a motorcycle outside. If that... Can you stop? Thank you. If that happens again, I'll probably close the balcony door, but for now I'd rather keep it open due to the weather. Oh, that's a cat and mouse point that I guess I would like Novak's chances more for the most part. in, and yeah, seems like he's won it, although he was keeping pushing it kind of close with that last winner. I was just gonna say that from the third set onwards we should have Vansh as well with on the commentary team, if you may call it that. I mean, for now I'm a one-person commentary team. That sounds good. So yeah, probably 2 sets, just me, and then Vansh will likely join us. Anyway, it was a pretty fun rally here. Zverev got to the net. I'm not really even sure why. I don't remember. I think it was Novak who lured them in there. And then they had to play a couple of creative shots. Eventually, Novak comes out on top, which usually he probably would. Maybe this is also a play for him, here to kind of keep Zverev away from these baseline putters. But I guess first we have to see who is winning, like the long game. I would assume that's Zverev, but this could be also misleading sometimes. Well, this should be a great opportunity for Novak to get the first game on the board. Although Zverev gets a point with a forehand winner, which he wrong-footed Novak with. A bit of a jump on the backhand there from Djokovic, and Zverev will miss the backhand cross-court, so it is. Yeah, it is done. The first game for Novak, and now let's see if Zverev can maintain the break advantage. Ooh, that's interesting from you, by the way, Matthew, that you are saying that the conditions make you lean towards Zverev, because I believe you had this idea this year that Novak will probably have his best chance at a slam at Roland Garros, right? So that's interesting to me that you're saying this. I was thinking you would probably be on the other camp, but I do understand, and well, I totally second some of your points, of course, here that being a 10-time champion is not really something that's going to help. Although, well, the magic of playing at an event sometimes can be big. We've seen it with Iga this week. Snehid is also right to point out that nobody was giving him a chance against Alcaraz. And while that was an incredibly nervy and tight performance from Carlos, we've seen these happen to Zverev as well. So it's not like it can't happen. Wet, coldish day makes it significantly worse. I don't disagree with that either, yes. Do I think I should bring up your magical Andreeva prediction and make you blush in front of one and only Snehin Kumar? What was my magical Andreeva prediction? Just the fact that I picked her to win the event? I mean, I was thinking if she's going to crush mentally, it's probably going to be against Goff again in that matchup. So, if somebody eliminates Coco, she's probably going to be fine. And maybe she can finally turn things around. But, well, that mental crush for her came around earlier. And once more, she just showed that, well, you cannot forget that she's 18. Serve quality on the screen for all the quarterfinalists. Alexander Zverev topping the ranks ahead of Bublik. Is that surprising? I don't know. I mean, Zverev's serve obviously is very high percentage, very powerful. Accuracy isn't the best compared to some of the other best servers in the game. So maybe that's why the lead that he holds there is a bit surprising. But yeah, Matthew, all the points that you mentioned about cheap points on faster courts, that's why I still thought Wimbledon was the better chance. And that's how mostly his Sinner Alcaraz, well, not Alcaraz because of Australia, of course, which was very different. But against Sinner in Shanghai, for example, we saw that, right? That he was mostly only competitive because he could keep the points short, blast the forehand. That's going to be Rune indoors at Wimbledon, right? Here it's going to be difficult. I mean, he kind of has to do it another way. I remember saying in the opening game when Novak had that backhand winner on the third point, that was kind of a bit of a weird rally to me because you would expect that most of them he's going to have to work a lot harder to claim a point. And from that point onwards, it's kind of been like that. So yeah, maybe something like he did in the previous game, maybe just luring Zverev away from the baseline. Maybe that will be the key. Or maybe, as usual, the key will just be to get Zverev nervous, which is also very possible, I suppose. Anyway, 30-15. So far, Zverev, I mean, well, no negative words about his performance, obviously. He's doing exactly what he should and playing quite well. Creative return from Novak, moonballing it off the backhand, and now he gets a short ball. Hasn't done all that much with it. Eventually. That was another, well, that was already, I guess, an instance of Novak trying to do something different. Starts the point in a completely different manner than any previous one that we've had so far. Does take it eventually. I don't know if because of the return, but it certainly didn't hurt his chances. Gonna be tough to do much about this serve from Zverev. Although the drive volley he was taking on the backhand, that was... Well, I wouldn't have taken that on the drive volley, but Zverev obviously is pretty comfortable on that shot. And since he is, well, I guess that's a good way of making sure that Novak will not get even a glimpse of touching that ball. That's another very good serve down the tee, and it's going to be 3-1 Zverev now. The serving has been good so far. The game, likewise. So, well, we've said it's a bit of a slow start for Novak, but Zverev has also not missed a trick thus far. 17 minutes in, he leads 3-1. Yeah, sorry guys, internet trouble. I cannot hear anything, says Nurlan. Yeah, if I'm not on the screen, then you probably won't be able to hear anything either. But I am here, yes. Right, what else did you guys say? Will there be Rafa Nadal Museum? I don't know, but they've already given him the plaque and everything, so there's obviously a lot of options that they have already done to commemorate him, which is very fair. I mean, there will never be another Roland Garros champion like Rafa, probably. I saw somebody getting outraged today that Iga Świątek is getting compared to Rafa and not to another female who dominated Roland Garros, but that's actually only good for her, right? Because she's already achieved what Justina now achieved. It's just, the next step is Rafa. Anyway, 3-2 Djokovic in the meantime. 3-2 Zverev in the meantime. And Matthew actually does stand by his view that this would be Novak's best chance. So, like with all you said, and you don't think that Wimbledon would be a better opportunity? That's kind of like what I'm surprised by. I just wonder, because you've said everything about like the quick points and the impact of the serve. So why not Wimbledon? Is it because of the return reactions that seem to be a little worse this year? Maybe. Novak playing someone inside the top 70. Yeah, that hasn't happened this event so far, but it is now. Sinner's team, obviously, we'll be following this. Could Zverev not having a great clay season be a factor in this match, or it doesn't really matter? Well, you know what I'll say? It doesn't matter, because I always say it doesn't matter. No, I think Zverev has had a perfectly acceptable clay season. Like, the fact that it's, it's sad that it's so bad, but I think some people just expect from Zverev way more than they should. Like, for example, at the Australian Open, I've seen takes in the final that he is, I don't know, just he didn't play well on the day. No, I think he played exactly how, what we know about his game. When he had to take any opportunities on the forehand side, aggressively risk it, he couldn't, because, that's who he is as a player. Was he comfortable at the net? No, but that's who he is as a player, So I think the clay season was perfectly fine. I think he's ready for this, give it whatever he has, and then we'll just see if it's enough. But I don't think he's playing that much better or that much worse than last year. I don't really think that's the case. He's always pretty strong here at Roland Garros. Obviously, it's never been enough to win the title. It's only once been enough to get to the final, but 5 semis in a row, if he can achieve that's absolutely insane. Pretty good forehand winner down the line, but gotta think, why is Djokovic not chasing that? I guess he just probably didn't read the direction from Zverev. But somewhat similar to the second point of the match when it was the other way around and Djokovic hit that down the line forehand. That Zverev kind of just lets go. Anyway, I fell into the toilets. That's interesting. Oh, scar tissue is 100% there for Zverev. He's had so many moments like that at Grand Slam level, but yeah, gotta put him under that pressure. So far, he seems somewhat unbothered, but now he misses that backhand down the line. And slow courts, if he does feel the tension, then slow court can also work against him, right? Because then the 3 points on the serve just won't be coming anymore. And he's actually going to have to win it. We'll see. Australia was obviously not really a missed chance for Zverev this year. But he's had a number of them. Obviously, US Open against Team, that's the one that really stands out. Last year against Alcaraz, tough to say. He goes 2-1 up, but gets outplayed from there. Was it nerves? No idea. And also Australia 2024, right? That was another one. He leads Zverev by 2 games to love. We remember that Sinner he was Sinner already, but he was still playing his first Grand Slam final. Was definitely going to be more vulnerable than in 2025. So at least 3 major chances he missed for Slam. I would say even more, because US Open 2021, when Novak was chasing the calendar Grand Slam, he was there for the taking in their semifinal. And then who knows what happens in Zverev-Medvedev. A pretty good sign here from Zverev that he's comfortable attacking here. The short ball of the forehand, 2 consecutive points. The previous one especially, he had to lift it. It wasn't a comfortable position. And now he hits one kind of more straight, flat, top to bottom, goes to the net. The finish is good too. 40-15. There's really not much that Zverev has done wrong so far in this match. And he's deservedly leading it 3-2, 40-15. Let's see if he's also going to be leading it 4-2. Well, if he is, then it's after the second serve. We've had our first bona fide title contender exiting the event on the women's side today with Andreeva. Some would argue Keys, but again, that's today. I would say on the men's, we still haven't had a single one of them because that's only Djokovic. Well, that's some would even say that's only Sinner and Alcaraz, but let's even say that's Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev, Djokovic, and Musetti. And then this, I guess, will be the match. But obviously, either way, it's not an upset. Somebody will have to go at this stage. That's how the draw panned out. 40-30. Can Zverev finish off the game without any extra trouble or not? That's a very deep second serve. I don't know if he went for it, especially because Novak was pretty close to the baseline or like even on it and was trying to be more aggressive. But either way, it worked out very well. There was just no way for Novak to react like that. On my screen, they're now showing a Bublik Instagram posts, which is I almost got him, guys, about Sinner their match earlier. Pretty funny. But obviously he did not almost get him. Zverev's best level at the French Open. Tough to say. I don't think it was last year. What else is there? 23. Oh, definitely not 23. 23 was the one where he was like number 16 right after the injury in 22. And I think he kind of got to the French Open semis being very rough that year. 21. Oh, yeah, I guess he lost there after being Medvedev. Yeah, should be 22, really. Or we'll see about this year because so far he's playing excellent in this quarterfinal. But yeah, 22 is probably the answer. I think you're right. 23 is not in the conversation. You can only really argue between 22 and 24. And this year, I guess we haven't really seen much yet because Koboli was not the threat that we thought he would. Because Talon Hrikspor got injured. Anyway, Novak has to. Okay, yeah, that's better. First ball forehand on this. First point of the 7th game was into the net and like pretty much middle of the net. But this one's a bit better. Didn't really go for any like corner, but still good enough. But yeah, this game is definitely Novak kind of trying to hang on in this first set. Gonna play a drop shot, and it's quite good. This is a better version of the drop shot lob combo that he was playing earlier. But Zverev, I think, says it's out. Novak, I think he agrees because he's not even looking at it. But no, actually, Louise Engza stepped off the chair and she says that it's in. Zverev will argue a little, but of course, when that's not, when we only have the mark to work with, there's no conversation. The umpire just decides it. I would like to see Hawkeye. From my point of view, when they were showing the mark, it seemed like the chair is right, but I am not seeing the Hawkeye yet on my screen, at least. I know there are at least 2 direct feeds because the other day when we were watching, what was the match we were doing? Oh, Sabalenka against Zheng, and they basically were showing Hawkeye every single time, and they didn't show it only on that one point when it was 30-all 5-6, and that's when Hawkeye didn't agree with the umpire, and that's why they didn't show it. But later I also saw screenshots from a feed that had Hawkeye on that very point. So maybe this was another case like that. I don't know. Anyway, it was very close. Novak won the point. It's 40-15. Zverev had a pretty, infamous, famous, actually, I don't know, you decide, altercation with Mohamed Layani this year in Rome, where he took out his phone and made a photo of the mark. But that was a different situation. Of course, the tournament was using Hawkeye Live. And, in that case, Zverev was just disagreeing with the system. He said that there's a malfunction there. And obviously, Layani couldn't even go down and check the mark because that's how the rules work. Here we don't have Hawkeye Live. We have line umpires. And, it leads to some sticky situations sometimes. I actually like the system, though. I'm sorry, but I like the whole drama of it. I think it adds to the the entertainment value. Might not be too. I mean, I totally get the arguments though that it might not be the most, fair. And if we have the technology, we might as well use it. You know what the worst part is? I know even if Zverev beats Novak, I'm mostly confident he will lose to Sinner. He mostly won't win the Sam. I would rather see Novak. Gonna have that magic. So okay, so that's what you mean. Okay, so even if Zverev beats Novak, yeah, I mean I can't really argue with that. I don't think I have either guy beating Sinner. I think I would give Zverev a better chance. But if somebody wants to say that, Damian, have you watched the Australian Open final? Did you watch it? Like, you know what happened there? I also can't really disagree with that. For some reason, I think Zverev would have a shot at grinding Sinner down in Paris. Novak, I am worried that physically in like a 3-hour match, the intensity of Sinner is still too much. So I think I would give a slightly better chance to Zverev, but I totally get what you mean. Of course, it's possible that we just will get another Australian Open final. I still think the final is kind of destined to be Sinner Alcaraz. If somebody can mess that up, it's probably Musetti. But well, I mean, we've had one final on our mind since the tournament began, and so far, we haven't seen anything to indicate that this final will not happen. Of course, Yannick is winning his matches a little bit more comfortably, not counting Carlos's yesterday win. But it's kind of more like, their difference in their games, their temperaments, the fact that Alcaraz will mess around a little bit and Yannick is so much more efficient. So I don't really treat it as any like sign. It's just kind of who they are. Could argue though that Sinner will have a tougher semifinal opponent than Alcaraz, but after the season that Musetti has had, I suppose it's at least close. Anyway, let's see if Novak can do anything in this set still. 4-3 on the second serve return. He's moving backwards here. Gonna try returning from the fence. Seems to have worked out fine, but we'll see what sort of an idea he'll have for this point now. So far, it's kind of Zverev directing play a little bit more. Deep backhand, gonna throw in a drop shot here, Zverev. Novak plays a pretty good response and a fantastic volley. That's insane. Yeah, that long slice that Djokovic played off the drop shot. I thought he was gonna go for a redrop because Zverev was so far away. I think Zverev probably thought so too, right? He's like trying to get a little bit further. But then Novak plays it so well down the line and stays in for the volley. Well, the Zverev drop shot is not amazing. Obviously, anything like any shot that requires touch for him is probably not the most natural. And I don't think we'll be seeing that much of it today. But well, he tried, he failed. Kind of the opposite of Veni Vidi Vici. He came, he saw, and he didn't conquer, but he does conquer Djokovic in the next point. Yeah, it was fine for Novak to like stand so far back and start the point, but I guess the question is what will he be able to do in rallies like that? Like how will he be breaking up rhythm when that happens? How is he going to be getting back to the dominant position he wants to be in, especially at this stage of his career? Is it like some sort of a motorcycle camp outside my window? It's a really funky slice from Djokovic. Goes forehand down the line with a lot of heaviness. This should be a point for him. How is he gonna... Actually, Zverev is defending extremely well. But Novak is still in this. Should probably take it. Yeah, I think this moonball from Zverev is gonna be out. The defense of Zverev was quite impressive, but Novak is still able to get this. Some of the angles he was playing with, very narrow, very short. And who knows, maybe this is a chance for Novak. 4-3, 30-all. Close to finding an ace out wide, Zverev, but he does not. Don't think we've seen any double faults yet. Let's see if he's nervous or not. Well, serve is good. Novak using the slice again. Hasn't had the most impact with it. Now he's gonna moonball. Zverev stepping in, and it's gonna be a ridiculous pass from Djokovic. I mean, I don't really think Zverev did anything wrong with the backhand cross, to be honest. Novak just read it like a book. He was already in that corner. The moonball was short, and Zverev, like, jumping onto it seemed fine. But Novak is just right there already. Like, he doesn't need to wait for Zverev to hit the shot. He's already in the corner, sliding into this sensational pass. So a first breakpoint coming up for Djokovic, who is trying to restore balance in this set. Gets the return back as well. This time just trading backhands cross-court without any mix-ups, like in the last 2 points when he was slicing at the Zverev forehand. So far, both players pretty comfortable with the timing. Zverev on the forehand looks extremely, extremely nervous, but he's making them without the most depth, but still making them. Novak takes some sort of a stand here, but seems like Zverev has gotten it back to neutral now. Another moonball from Djokovic. Couple of them, actually. There was a bit of a bad bounce, but Zverev handled it, and it's Novak slicing the ball out. Well, this was, I guess, a first example of such a rally that we were kind of expecting in this match, and why some people probably thought that I was not going to be enjoying this match. Both were very passive here. Novak had this one acceleration backhand cross-court where he could have done a bit more, maybe went to the net, maybe played the next forehand into the Zverev forehand corner, maybe just, I don't know, used that to position himself more aggressively. He didn't, and he eventually lost the point, 29 shots. Still, it was the Zverev forehand technique, which was looking more wobbly, that's for sure, but obviously it doesn't matter as he hit the few shots that he needed, and now it's 4-3 deuce. Good serve +1. I think still the most major difference, though, in this long rally was that this time Novak didn't try to like break it up with the slice down the line as he did in the previous 2 exchanges like that. Like previous points, he was not fine playing backhand cross-court against backhand cross-court with Zverev, and this time he was, to his demise eventually, but we'll see. Anyway, 4-3 advantage Zverev. And he wins the game eventually. That return reaction was quite slow from Djokovic for sure. Anyway, 5-3 up, 1 breakpoint saved in this game. Was this the deciding moment of the opening set? I mean, we'll find out soon, but 29 shots here. Definitely a rally which Novak will somewhat regret. Yeah, as Matthew says, Novak kind of played one brave shot and didn't follow it up. Ashley, should Novak serve and volley more? I mean, on clay, it's difficult, definitely. But, you know, he should be looking to keep the points a little shorter here for sure. Oh, don't worry, Snehil. I am very often wrong. But yeah, keeping the points shorter actually definitely is a good idea here for Novak in general. But, you know, you still have to do it in a, I don't know, like manner you can maintain and not just rush blindly. That's a beautiful way of doing it. Backhand drop shot that would what was I gonna say? Feed families, yeah. Yeah, and is feeding his family, has been for a while. It's probably a decade right now already of Djokovic hitting some ridiculous drop shots off the backhand side and really finding that aspect of the game, incorporating it more. It's a pretty uncomfortable return from Zverev. He is a bit quicker in all these balls he has to stretch for. You can see that. But what the hell is that from Novak? Was that supposed to be a drop shot? Was that supposed to be a short slice? No idea, but it got Zverev off balance completely. And I can't blame him because I also had no idea what Djokovic was doing. The previous point, I mean, yeah, he played a drop shot, fair and square. You can just totally see that. He's playing a drop shot and he's doing it excellently. And here, I have no idea what he was aiming for, but it worked out perfectly. Maybe that's exactly the plan. I don't know. 24-24 in terms of total points won. So definitely Novak has had a few easier holds recently. But, Zverev is up. Looks like he will have to serve it out. So another big test, I suppose. Matthew said that 30-40 point was probably the set right there. Very possible. But at least Novak looks like he will give Zverev one more chance to potentially flop. Anyway, for the love, let's see if he closes this out first. It's a good kicker, and Zverev is not even going to try replying to the +1. When he saw how far wide out of the court he was, he just went straight to his bench. Wasn't interested in chasing down the Djokovic backhand. So 5-4. After the change of ends, we're going to have Zverev serving for the first set. My thoughts on the Zverev forehand these days? I mean, kinda still the same, no? You can see even in this match that when you had that long rally on BP, you can see how uncomfortable he is. The hand is very close to his body. He's just not driving through it with enough force, with normal, normal pace. No, he's just playing it very, very safe. You can see he's dreading hitting a forehand essentially. So I think it's still as it was. It's unfortunately always been a shot that doesn't really have that much technically wrong with it, but for some reason his head just doesn't buy it. His head doesn't trust it. On the backhand, as I don't actually think his backhand is the best in the sport or something like that. He thinks it is, but you can see that he is just confident hitting whatever. If you give him a ball to the backhand, he's never gonna be so into his head that he's not gonna be able to produce his motion. Whereas on the forehand, yeah, you could see how little pace, how little spin, how little depth they had in that break point. Kind of Novak for not capitalizing on that. Well, big serve, big smash. Novak almost gets it. That would have been a sensational shot if he lobs Zverev like that, but it's going to be long. 3 points away from the set, Zverev. But it's gotten closer, for sure. It's gotten closer over the last 15, 20 minutes, let's say. It's still only that one break in the very first game of the match that is leading to this. I guess at the beginning of the encounter, I even said that there's probably not going to be too many one-break sets. Well, this could be one of them, Zverev holds here. Novak with another drop shot. I think Zverev should be able to catch this one, and he does outplays. Oh, actually, the point keeps going. Okay, it doesn't anymore. Yeah, he kind of fooled Novak there. I think that Djokovic was just expecting him to go cross. I don't know. I would like to see a replay of if Zverev did anything maybe with the head turn or no, he was just straight up running at it. Just this time Novak didn't anticipate it the same way he did with the pass a couple of games ago. But yeah, I mean, we can see him going to the drop shot a ton. Obviously, that's another way of trying to make the points a little bit more compact, if you may. and just not dragging it out with Zverev over the course of a 30-shot rally anymore. This time it didn't work out. Zverev got onto it in time, and Djokovic did not guess right. Another moonball return, but this one is actually out. I don't think Djokovic meant this one. I think this one he was kind of forced into after the kick serve bounced really high. Probably not just because Zverev played it like that. Probably also the court was not helpful there for Novak. Anyway, 3 set points. So this hold is looking pretty routine so far for Zverev. Let's see if he just closes it out and gets our first set on the board. He does, with an ace down the tee. Good set from Zverev. I mean, I can't say it was easy because there was that one breakpoint, 29 shots, right? And that could have gone both ways if Novak maybe follows up on that one aggressive backhand he played. But nonetheless, Zverev is doing exactly what he wants to do, which is serve well, outlast Djokovic in most grinding rallies, and actually still be pretty okay on like short balls when he sees them, right? When he has an attacking position after the serve, he's been converting pretty well too. So not much wrong to say about the Zverev performance. Novak obviously just fell behind an early break in the opening set, in the opening game of the match. And that's, that was it really. Although he had he had a minimal chance later. Well, not a minimal one given it's 29 shots, but, given it was just one break point. But definitely still, it's not a set that Novak will be like, oh, I lost it, I'm totally done. There's a lot to play for here, clearly. It's not like he was outplayed. But Zverev, obviously, he will feel a little bit more confident now that he's got the first set on the board. Nurlan, I am watching on a slower stream this time because the faster one was not working for me. Maybe I will switch later, but also Vanch will come later, so I think it will be better for me to watch on the slower one just to be a little bit closer to that. Portugal Nations League semi-final. Okay. To be honest with you, Nations League is not something I usually am involved in, so I didn't even know that they were playing. I know Zverev is great in serve, but I expect more from Novak on return. Novak is such an amazing returner. So, yeah, but don't you think that his return this year has went down quite a lot? Hurkacz, Geneva, I know he won the match, but like Berrettini, Doha, Opelka, Brisbane. Well, with age, return reactions tend to get worse, and some people are making the case that it's happening for Novak. I don't think it's completely wrong. I think definitely there's some sort of truth in it, at least. This is an interesting question, Nurlan. Would I rather be a student of the game or a professor of the game? Well, I am a student of the game. Would I want to be a professor of the game? I suppose so. I mean, it's probably always better from the position of a professor, right? I mean, you just know a lot and you can share your knowledge. I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm not really sure what each choice is saying about me. Oh no, and the chair umpire is going to have another conversation with Zverev here. And once more, he disagrees with her. Will we get the Hawkeye this time? I think this time, though, he accepted her explanation more easily than last time. Will I see the Hawkeye this time, or will it also be missing just like in the previous instance? Not seeing it yet. Anyway, that means that it's a first point of the match of the second set for Novak. Yeah, we haven't seen the Hawkeye, at least not on my feed. So I don't know. That seems like this time even Zverev agreed with her. So. As I said earlier, I like the whole drama of this, checking the mark, the conversations about this. I think Hawkeye Live is obviously more fair. It's more consistent. It's probably what we should be doing to make sure that the competition is just, straight for both players, right? That you don't have any potential, that you just have fewer options of umpiring for umpires to like mess up your match. But I do like the whole drama of it. 30-15 Djokovic. We've seen that forehand winner, wrong footing Djokovic, a couple of times from Zverev now. Obviously, he kind of takes it, when he feels a bit more loose, like on this point when he was love 30 down, but maybe that's something he can rely on later in the match as well. We'll see. Same position was maybe like second or third game of the match as well. Anyway, 40-15 for Novak. The serve has been very good this game, so that one rally he lost doesn't matter yet. Goes back and down the line, Zverev. Again, kind of feels like a shot he goes for because it's not like he doesn't think he can get back into the game at 15-40, but you can see he goes for these shots because the pressure isn't on, right? The bigger question would be what happens when it is. But for now, 40-30, I don't think Novak has won a rally yet in this game, so let's see if this is going to change it. He will have to. If he wants to take it before deuce, it's a drop shot and should win the point with it pretty easily. Yes. So first game on the board for Novak in the second set. Different start already to that opener. Yeah, I was just gonna say tomorrow, of course, on court Philippe Chatrier, there's the mixed doubles final. So that's obviously Taylor Townsend, Even King against. I just forgot who is also in the mixed doubles final. Oh, Marcelo Arevalo and Shuai Zhang, right? And then the women's singles semis. For the semis between Świątek and Sabalenka and Boison and Goff, we will have watch-alongs. I think I'm off tomorrow, but I will be back on Friday for the second men's semifinal. So involving one of these players against Yannick Sinner. Oh, wow. So Zverev plays a great serve down the tee, but then has a smash on top of the net, which he totally bricks. I guess breaking it would be more like into the net, but no, he just like overplays it wildly. Maybe could have been a bit more cautious, just like stood in place and hit it. Didn't really need to do it in the run-up, but anyway, that's love 15. He's taking his time here for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but anyway, we're playing. No, he's complaining about something. I think we're probably just waiting for people to get into the stands. I don't see a view of that, but I think that's probably what it is, right? That's often an issue after the first changeover. Anyway, we're back. Started the game with a very poor shot. Let's see how he responds to that. Not many times today so far he's been under pressure on his serve. Really only that one game. Has another smash, next point. And wow, this could have ended really poorly for him. I mean, he wasn't playing this one with that much confidence. Novak was on it. Novak was almost finding another ridiculous backhand cross-court pass. This time Zverev would have at least had a shot to play it back, but nonetheless, after missing one smash, the confidence on the next one was kind of understandably a touch lower. No issues with this serve down the tee, though. Yeah, as I said, Zverev has been pretty good at converting these aggressive positions after the first serve. This is another one where maybe it doesn't need to be that easy. He does make it seem like it with the backhand cross. Although I guess that goes back to what I said earlier about his backhand just being like he is confident with the shot no matter what, even if the position is kind of off. Anyway, 40-15 would be a good recovery from that horrible smash, and indeed it is. It is 1 game all. I'll probably turn on the lights here since it's getting dark already. It is dark outside my window, but it's also gonna be dark in Paris, but they have some amazing lights, obviously. They've been having these night sessions controversially the entire week. I think it's also the first time they didn't have a single women's match, right, in the night session, because previous years there were some instances, at least one every tournament, I think. There was a Stevens Sabalenka one year. There was a Kostyuk Świątek one year. But maybe also last year. I don't remember. But I think most years they had at least one women's match in the night session. Well, as you guys probably know, like my take on that isn't maybe as brutal as some others. But anyway. Andreeva Schneider, Erani Paolini, indeed. I mean, they've been meeting each other so much. I think this is the 5th one already since the Olympic final. And in fact, when I counted it, it was like 13% of the matches that Andreeva and Schneider have played, they've come against Erani Paolini, which is pretty insane. That means they're playing like every 8 matches, they're playing against Erani Paolini once. Winning the first set is often talked about being decisive in big matches. Yeah, although best of 5, you could argue it's a little less important. This is a longer exchange. Novak playing another sensational backhand drop shot to get out of it. There's really not much you can do with that. It's just absurdly good. Kind of felt like this was another position to play it on the next point already, but no, indeed. Instead, it's a longer point between them. Novak spreading the court with the forehand, and I think he's actually not going to get Zverev to miss here. A lot of moon bowling, and Novak steps in for a forehand drive volley, and Zverev is going to hit the shot of the match so far. Maybe. I guess Djokovic had a similarly good passing shot, but yeah, one of the shots of the match so far, definitely. I mean, what a weird point. Kind of what we like Clay for. One of these moon balls, Djokovic decides to take a forehand drive volley, but he's just far behind the net still. And Zverev lines it up perfectly for the backhand line. There's some applause from Novak as well. Yeah, I mean, so far, I guess we can compare these two. The 2 backhand passing shots, one from each player. That was... these were the best shots of the match thus far. Perhaps the Djokovic drop shots can also be included. Anyway, 15-30 here. Is this going to be troublesome for Novak? Huh. Zverev kind of uncharacteristically going for a massive forehand crosscourt. It's way out. He's like standing there and thinking, why did I go for that? I'm not a risky player. I shouldn't. No, I mean, why not? I appreciate the idea. I still think one of the best matches I've seen Zverev play was that Nadal ATP Finals match where he was just crushing his forehand, you know? But that only happens to him every time. Well, a few times every year, I suppose. 1-all, 30-all. Let's see. Zverev will just kickstart the point, but he is in trouble. Will Novak be able to do anything with that? Probably not. Seems like it's neutral again. But this time, the Zverev forehand does produce a pretty wild miss. I mean, the ball was low. Nothing he shouldn't be able to handle, but We know that he has issues with that, and clearly was not comfortable with the contact point there. 4 forehand unforced errors already in the second set from Zverev, although I wonder if it's 4 already. Maybe they're counting the smash as well, as that is clearly not a forehand unforced error in the most, traditional sense. A bit of a net court from Novak. He has a chance to go to the net, should be able to wrap it up. It's a beautiful volley. Says sorry, of course, for the net court, but well, when he got that position, he used it beautifully. Still wasn't easy to take advantage. And it is 2-1. It was looking briefly dangerous after the ridiculous backhand passing shot down the line from Zverev, but Novak holds on. Do I remember the last time I climbed up a tree? I think I might, just because it's not too common, of course, right now. But I think at maybe like the second, third year of the university, we had, I don't know, just after the classes or maybe during classes, we went for a beer in the park and we were climbing up this one tree. So I think I do, but it's kind of random. I actually was never a big tree climber, to be honest. I definitely was not. Novak not getting into this much if he doesn't hit the corners on his first serve. Ball will keep coming back into play. Yeah, it does kind of feel like Novak is running uphill. Like you said that the first set was crucial. I would maybe say this one is extremely though, because can you imagine Novak coming back from 2 sets to of down here? With what I'm watching, I don't think I do. Like I think he absolutely needs to take this one. But yeah, as you say, the pressure is on him to end the point. And that seems to define some of these matchups, like Zverev Medvedev, Zverev Djokovic, Nadal Medvedev, Djokovic Zverev. All of these matchups between Nadal and Djokovic against the tall counter punchers, I think they've kind of been defined by this. So like if on this particular day, the one player can just out rally the other if they're playing in neutral gear, then that player is, in a good position. That player is leading, and then the other one has to like come up with something. And if you think about some of like these big matches, I don't know, Djokovic, Medvedev, Australian Open Final 21, for example, Novak can just out rally him, and Daniil doesn't have much to do. Novak can. There's examples the other way too, and I think with Zverev it kind of works similar in a lot of these. Where like if he knows he can win the neutral point, then he just feels very comfortable and can just keep trading. Against Sinner in Australia, he knows he can't do that, right? So he just starts going to the net a lot and playing so much more aggressively, and that obviously that fails. But well, here we have a couple of sloppy errors from Zverev. From 15 love up, he's 15-30. 2 points given away practically for free. I think only 1 unforced error so far in this set from Novak, 6 from Zverev, including 2 just now. Obviously, a part of what I was just talking about, the comfort level in like longer exchanges. You cannot be giving away points like that if you wanna keep that feeling up. It's a good second serve, but this time Novak is ready. Zverev shanks the forehand, but it's in. What happened here? Is this out or in? I think it's out, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see the mark on the screen, and it is out. Anyway, what happened here was that Zverev shanked the forehand. It actually ended up being pretty unpleasant for Novak, and he gave him a short ball, but also on the forehand side, and Zverev just hit it out with the inside out. So, 2 breakpoints for Djokovic here, and kind of out of nowhere, we have 3 consecutive unforced errors for Zverev and a big chance. This is your moment, Novak. I mean, don't waste it. Tough to say about wasting it on this first breakpoint. 199 out wide, great angle. wasn't much that he could do, but maybe the second one he gets an opportunity of sorts. Obviously, he hasn't broken Zverev yet. This is the third breakpoint opportunity of the match for the 24-time Grand Slam champion. How ridiculous does that sound? Nope. Tries to go for an ace down the T. Zverev. Second serve, so a clear opportunity for Novak to hunt for something. What will it be? Will it be ducks? Will it be dogs? Pheasants? We'll see. He gets the return in play. That's a start. Zverev is not comfortable on these backhands, and I think he might have missed one. One was already pushing it close, and now we're gonna have a ball check, a check of the ball mark, and this is out as well, I think. So it is 3-1 Djokovic. Kind of out of nowhere, lots of unforced errors from Zverev in this game, and like not once coming, long into the rally. But obviously Novak had to stay with him there, return the serve, and he gets a break now. So now it's all about what he can do with that. He's got what he wanted. 3 holds away from taking the second set. Feels like mostly a Zverev dip, that's for sure. But now that Djokovic has that, well, this is how the match can be even won and lost. We're already gonna start from a really long rally. Djokovic throws in a great drop shot. Should be able to, actually does not pass Zverev with this. That's kind of surprising. I mean, seems like he had the angle open there, but I guess Zverev did well enough on the drop shot get, just playing it pretty deep. I still thought Novak was just gonna pass him. I mean, this seemed like an angle he's played a billion times. But the volley was kind of directly on Zverev's racket. Melo loved this one. They showed him right away. I don't know if it was because it ended with a volley or not. But could serve down the T for Novak. Even though Zverev is standing so far behind, was still a little slow to react. Probably didn't read it too well. Of course, it's tough to read the Novak serve. It's a pretty small ball toss. It's not much difference, really. Low ball toss is what I was trying to say. I don't know why I said small. Well, another serve pretty much exactly like that. Seems like Zverev is giving himself a lot of time to return it, but still can't. So I don't think he's reading the Djokovic serve too well here. Trading backhands cross court now. Usually that was a good pattern for Zverev, but not in the last few minutes, although he seems to be a little more dynamic here. This was very deep. He'll have to jump on this one, go to the net, and actually play a very good volley. What the hell is happening to the Zverev volleys today? This isn't the way he was playing against Sinner in the Australian Open final, that's for sure. This isn't the way he's been playing all year at the net. Maybe it's just, small sample size, we'll see, but that's quite sensational. Again, it seemed like a point where Novak will just have to find a way to get through him at the net somehow, but surprisingly good volley. Novak is applauding as well. But this time it's going to be Djokovic using the net as a tool. Ashley was asking for more serve and volleys in the chat earlier, and Novak delivers. Out wide, had a lot of time on the forehand volley, plays it still incredibly well. I mean, 3-0 to do there for Zverev, as surprised as he was by the serve volley attempt. One more point to lead 4-1. And will it happen? It's in the point. They're playing a point at least. Djokovic a little bit more active, trying to go down the line, but now he's actually the one defending and trying to extend the point. Zverev has turned it around, but will he finish it off? Probably should. It's a smash. It's a pretty easy smash. He does take it. Kinda like the longer the point went on, when they were using the angles, you could see that Zverev is just a bit more dynamic. I think Novak reads the game better, 100%. Like, he just knows a lot more, anticipates better where Zverev will hit and stuff like that. But when it actually comes to hitting these shots on the stretch, Zverev has been just that little bit more, energized, which is understandable considering their age. Sometimes Novak will still surprise you, though, simply because he is, a wizard and like he can read your mind, basically. Good serve out wide, gives him another break point. Breathing kind of heavily. Feels like it's definitely crucial for him to get ahead here. And yeah, get that second set as I said, going down 2-0. I don't know if I trust Novak to find that sort of a comeback here, but from 1-0, everything is possible. Does this game have anything more left in store? 4-1 or deuce? Yeah, that's somewhat cheap from Novak. Pretty heavy return down the middle for Zverev, but Novak just his feet were lagging behind a bit. Didn't position himself well. He is looking a little bit more tired than Zverev as well. That's for sure. I mean, we're only an hour and 13 in. Could be just a small physical crisis, and he's actually leading the second set now. But it does also make you question, how this is going to look in like an hour and a half. I guess for now, we don't really know that. And when he can keep the point nice and short, like he is here with the first two aggressive forehands, well, it doesn't matter. That second one obviously winning him the point, wrong footing Zverev, and here we are, another game point. Third one probably already for Novak here. That's a let, I think. Bit of a shame for Novak because I think it barely touched and the serve was amazing. $24 on his shoes, might be outdated soon, we'll see. Backhands cross court again, we're back into that. It's Zverev who steps it up with the down the line, and Novak is a bit late covering his forehand corner. Yeah, I think the last 5-10 minutes is definitely the worst that Novak has looked physically in this match, which is funny because he's just broken serve, right? And for the first time, well, you'd think based on the scoreline that this is where he's looking at his strongest, but this game is rough because he's just not winning the longer points. He's mostly just getting things sorted out of the serve. And again, he goes to the net, tries to play the backhand volley, but it's not quite good enough. Obviously, it's just like reactions in the heat of the moment. I can't really complain about the direction he chose or anything like that. You have to do it pretty spontaneously here. Almost made it. Yeah, especially if you watch the replay, it was very close. But it's gonna be breakpoint Zverev now, so Djokovic is in danger of losing this advantage. Zverev complaining about something, probably the lights. I'm not really sure. Anyway, he says sorry to Djokovic, so we'll continue. And that's well, it's not an ace because Zverev had a racket on it, but it's pretty much the closest you can get to an ace with a serve. That's just perfect out wide again, and gonna be in the net from Zverev, so he saves the break points. This is such a long, crucial game. 9 minutes on the clock already. I fear for Novak if he loses this, but at the same time, if he wins it, it will be a big lead, and he gets another point. Just strong serve, goes forehand +1, and Zverev will not be able to catch up. The placement, the lack of readability, if you may, on his serve, it's definitely doing a lot of work here. Because obviously these aren't like 220 bombs, right? It's more about the placement and the precision of it. And actually, speaking of precision on the serve, that's another ridiculous one. And yeah, 4-1 Djokovic. Looking pretty rough physically this entire game, to be honest, but he survives it, and that might be exactly what he needs. He's 4-1 now in the second set. So, first time he has a meaningful lead in this match, and how he is going to, convert it. It's basically going to decide whether he's still in the match, I think, in this set. Yeah, I kind of lost it in terms of the last 10 minutes, in terms of because of the comments, but let's see. Am I familiar with French intellectual Emmanuel Todd? No, it's the first time I'm hearing the name, to be honest. How does Boison play game style wise? Very heavy forehand. Some people have suggested kind of like Sakari-ish vibes. I don't hate that. I don't know if you saw this graphic today, Jake, but basically the top 10 on the women's side, they hit with an average RPM on the forehand of like 2,200. And on the men's side, the top 10 is hitting like 2,900 and Boison is above 3K. So basically, she's got a really heavy forehand, and that's kind of the cornerstone for her game. Yeah, it was a bit of a gift for sure, that break, but definitely Djokovic had to work very hard to get that 3-1 thing, to get that 3-1 hold. That's very funny, Ghosty, indeed. Djokovic is a weak era champion. Yeah, sure. Do you think tennis players are at their absolute best when they are at the age of 23 to 33? I think the prime has changed for sure. What you're giving right now is a very wide margin. I would probably say we can't go up to 33. We have to go to like maybe 30 max. But, it used to be 25 was like, I don't know, 26, 27 was considered post-prime already. And now it's definitely not. Now you could even argue that 25, 26 is when a lot of players hit their stride. So, yeah, maybe like 23 to 30. That sounds realistic to me. Would Zverev's mentality even be in the top 50? Tough to say. I mean, you would definitely find a lot of players with a very strong mentality near the bottom of not near the bottom, but, in the lower tiers of the ATP rankings, because it's so like not connected to the game, at least up until a certain point. What? Novak is hitting insane backhand cross-court passes again. Jesus Christ. Zverev is just shell-shocked, just like most of the crowd. Well, it might not be sustainable, Matthew, but he is kind of looking, to break a second time again. A second time here. So at least for this set, he is looking really good at the moment. Yeah, with a bit of a flick as well. What a shot. Can he break again? I mean, that would surely secure the set, no? You'd think at least. He isn't. He is on the defense here. Still reads Zverev so well. I mean, he just knows exactly where he's gonna hit. But he's not gonna be in time for this forehand counter. I think he was very optimistic with this. He would have hit it 10 years ago with the legs from back then. But yeah, I mean, to that mentality question, I would say probably not. Is Djokovic approaching the net more than in the first set? Considering he played a couple of serve and volleys, yes, but that's kind of the extent of it. Like, I don't think we've seen him at the net that much anyway. Just added a couple of serve and volleys that weren't there in the opener. I don't disagree with you, Matthew, but you know, he's probably gonna lose the second set. Zverev. So, but I would make him the favorite from there, but he's probably gonna lose it here. We'll see. Of course, it's a very different conversation if he ends up taking this. Now Novak goes to the net. Should be able to pick this one up. Yes, very good backhand down the line. That pretty much set it up. It wasn't like a proper net approach, I guess, but yeah, just great backhand down the line. Monfils is just getting started. Anyway, breakpoint Djokovic. I mean, if he takes it, 5-1 lead. He does kind of feel like he's leading against all odds in a way, but you know, it's Djokovic. He's done it so many times. And he's forcing Zverev to hit uncomfortable shots with the forehand here. A lot of heaviness into the Zverev backhand corner. Gonna be a drop shot, but it's a good redrop. I think Novak lost his balance a little bit there. I don't hate the idea, but this time Zverev was ready for it. Maybe he just kind of, you know, remembered what happened on some of these previous points. Although now, actually looking at the replay now, I think he just kind of ran into it at a very good pace. Novak seemed a bit in two minds there in terms of staying at the baseline or going forward. And Zverev saves the break point. Also finds an ace down the out wide here. What's happening here? Zverev is like spitting onto the court, but seems to indicate to the umpire he's fine. I'm not sure. We're getting shown a replay of something here. Yeah, of that. I don't know. He like stood up on his racket a little and started spitting onto the court. I don't know. Maybe it was just like a fly or something. I don't know. Tough to say. But doesn't seem to be any physical issue that we should be considering. Anyway, two good serves from Zverev. So this was a point away from a 5-1 lead for Novak. In fact, maybe a better drop shot away from a 5-1 lead. Let's see if staying in the set is going to be something that Novak still has. Well, that Zverev can do anything with. 2-4 down. It's also a ball change, so they're switching rackets, both of them. Yeah, I don't know, Snahi. That's maybe a fly went into his mouth or something like that. I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like a big concern. I think the umpire was talking to him about it, and he didn't seem to indicate that it's a problem. Yeah, Ghosty, I understand that it's hard to read into Novak's body language, but well, you can see he was in a bit of a physical crisis for a while. But well, we'll see if that continues. He's obviously very good at managing that and has all the tools to keep the points short as he's been in the second set. But yeah, just like if he loses the second set is where I would say probably he's not going to have enough to turn the match around. But if it's one set all, I wouldn't count him out. Another ball mark inspection from Miss Engzel, and she is not agreeing with Zverev there once more. Clearly based on the footage, I think she is right, and he also at some point agreed with her eventually. That was just about whether Djokovic will get the first serve or not, as it was after a net court. Anyway, he did get the first serve, but he missed it. Let's see, maybe kind of like in the previous set, this could be the game where we had that breakpoint for Novak in the opener, right? Maybe this is where Zverev will kind of like fight back and at least get some chances. Although I guess he already had that at 1-3 and just missed a few of them. Or just one breakpoint, maybe. Yeah, I think just one breakpoint. Interestingly, both players have won 50 points each thus far. It's 50 all in the total points won category. Novak lost the first point, by the way, in the 7th game with a slice into the net. Well, we've definitely established that he's the one kind of fighting an uphill battle so far here. So yeah, this second set is just really crucial for him. Novak Zverev had him off balance there with a very heavy return down the middle, but now it's back to, well, not even neutral, because after a net court from Djokovic, Zverev misses his next shot. Somewhat unfortunate. Still had quite some time, Could have reacted a bit better, I guess. But also his fault for not converting the early advantage he had. I mean, the return was definitely could have been more proactive with the second shot of the rally. So that's a really good serve from Novak. Again, I would say I don't see the speed on the screen right now, but probably like 170, which is perfectly placed, and it's gonna be enough. I guess it's not on the speed gun anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely not the fastest, but still so dangerous. Starts with a kicker this time. That's pretty interesting. I'd say for the most part in this match, that's not good for him. Just, starting the point like that, 139 first serve. Ends up winning the point though. Zverev has an attackable forehand he misses. What a shocker. And 40-15. Maybe this will be an easier game for Novak. Of course, both Zverev's father and brother are in the stadium as well. And that's a great serve from Novak. Once more, finds the line down the tee. So 5-2. Just one hold away from taking this second set and really prolonging his chances to win the match. Hi, Julian. Yeah, it's funny about the flies. Pack of beers delivered to your apartment. You are a hero. What was my opinion on the Musetti kick? Yeah, good question. I haven't really had any chance to talk about that either on Twitter or here. Well, obviously you shouldn't have done that. I think the decision in this case has to be warning rather than default. But it wasn't far off. Like if the umpire, who got hit in the chest, I think, if the umpire has any more of a reaction to it, as in like falls on the floor or something like that, it's very likely a default. So he was playing with fire there. A lot of people obviously have been comparing it to the Djokovic incident, which I wouldn't, because, well, the big difference is what happened, right? The way the rules are written, whether it's stupid or not, I mean, that's another question. But the way the rules are written, the fact that it's minor and doesn't cause injury is what saves Musetti here. Whereas with Djokovic, of course, the umpire was, well, at least for a few minutes, was kind of hampered, right? And that's the difference maker. So according to the rules, I don't think it would have been default to. Sorry, according to the rules. Oh, it wasn't Snehi, by the way. It was Sean. Sorry, I'm not even reading your name right anymore. I don't know. Am I this tired? I don't know. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that according to the rules, the decision is correct, but obviously he was quite reckless to do something like that, and lucky that it didn't end up even worse. Beer delivered. Yeah, I don't know if you can get beer delivered. Shouldn't you have to like show your ID or something like that? Yeah, I mean whether it depends on whether the rules are right is another thing, as you guys say. Would it be somewhat insane as well if we just defaulted everybody who hits somebody in that way? Maybe. I remember that there was a challenger thing when Monteiro was passing the ball on the other side of the net, and because it was just after the Djokovic incident, people were asking for a default, whereas he was just literally passing the ball onto the other side of the net, and it hit Russell in the leg. Like it didn't make any impact, wasn't hard, wasn't it was on purpose, as in like he was not trying to, I don't know, do it out of frustration. He just literally was passing the ball onto the other side of the net instead of letting the ball kid do it, which sometimes the players do. I don't know. Like we can't go in either way. Like too much. We can't go too much in either way, right? As with many things. But yeah, I mean, as the rules state, the impact it makes is what makes the difference. So this is why Miyu Kato last year at the French, right? The default that she had in mixed doubles. This is why that default was wrong as well, according to the rules. But the problem was we still didn't have video review, and the opponents of Miyu Kato, who was it, like Soribes Stormo and Buskova, was it? They basically like exaggerated it to the umpire, and according to the rules, that situation should not have been a default. Whereas it was because we didn't have video review at the time. I'd still say though that some people are trying to make this way too big a sensation, like that Musetti incident. I saw an article today, for example, which said that Lorenzo Musetti made the US Open semifinals, but it was completely overshadowed by the incident that he should have been defaulted by or something like that. Like, I think that's way too much, you know? But obviously, I understand that a lot of people, especially if they don't know how the rules are written, they're just instantly thinking of the Djokovic incident and saying, okay, so why was Novak defaulted? Both cases are similarly unintentional. It's just that one made impact, the other didn't. But yeah, I understand your doubts about the way the rules are written. Anyway, Zverev gets the game. Actually had to hit a couple of pretty aggressive and very like touch-heavy forehands too. Low balls right into the corner. Good sign for him, I guess. But the bad omen for him is that Novak is serving for the set at 5-3. If he wins it in like 4 minutes, we might have 49 minutes each in each set, which wouldn't really mean anything, but it would be nice symmetry on the board. I like symmetry. Anyway, 5-3 Novak. This is one of the most important games of the match, maybe. Just like the Zverev one where he was trying to hold was too. And by the way, I said at the beginning of the encounter that probably we won't see a lot of one-break sets, and we might be about to see another one, which shows you how much I know. Although, to my credit, I mean, they had some chances to make it different. Another drop shot play from Novak. Kind of had to like work his way up into the point after that. You know, there was a lob, Zverev gets it back, then there's a passing shot. Basically, it took a few more shots maybe than it needed to, but he still takes it, so he won't be complaining about that. Kept his head cool this time on the passing shot, as I think we've seen a point previously where he was, he just played it right on Zverev's racket. Not this time. So first point goes to Djokovic. And Zverev will miss that backhand down the line. So just 2 points away now, and Djokovic looking good to take the set potentially. Well, we would be a little disappointed if this ended in 3, I think. Yeah, Zverev sets himself up for a short ball with the forehand, and this time it's in the net. So 3 set points for Djokovic. He's thinking now, why in the previous game these forehands were perfect, and why is it breaking up and breaking down now? But that's the reality, right? When you're under pressure, that's when you're gonna struggle. And it's 3 set points for Novak. I think I said it was gonna be 49 minutes each set. If he finished it off in like 4 minutes, we're close to that. Can he take it right away? Trading backhands, cross court once more. Novak goes down the line. It's deep. Doesn't make as much damage as he was hoping for, and he's gonna what? No, I think it's out now. Yeah, he played another insane drop shot, but I think it's just wide. I mean, you could see that it was probably gonna go wide when the ball was in the air, but then Novak kind of like stood there in place, and it seemed like he was shocked by something for a moment. So I wasn't sure what's happening. Anyway, 2 more set points for him. Obviously, he's been going to the drop shot more and more. And I think that's probably going to increase as well as the match goes on. Most of the time, it's still been an efficient play for him. Was trying to serve and volley, but the serve is in the net. Goes forehand down the line. Zverev is still in the point. Can pass Novak here, and he does. So just 1 more set point left now. I mean, Novak better end this right now. Yeah, that last approach shot definitely could have been a bit better. Somewhat unpleasant ball from Zverev. I was thinking that Zverev probably doesn't get the shot back after the forehand down the line from Novak, so there was a bit of a surprise element to it, let's say. But yeah, I mean, if Novak wants to just get this pain-free, this is the moment. This is the moment to find an ace, to find another very well-placed serve. Let's see. Well, it's going to be on a second, so that will be slightly more difficult to get that 3 points. Could also be very much like pattern where, he goes 40 love down, he plays a couple of good points, and then when it actually gets real, he might kind of hurt himself again. Let's see. Again, Novak is the first to go backhand down the line. Not much he achieved with it, though. This is a good, deep, wide backhand. Again, a drop shot. Zverev is going to catch it, but can he catch the lob? Oh my, what a point. He barely caught it, and they're still playing this. This will be another long rally. It's a net court from Zverev, and Djokovic plays another drop shot, and no, Zverev will not make it. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was another one that you can see Novak is breathing quite heavily after. But it is 1 set all. And, well, some questions remain regarding the long-term prospects of Djokovic in this match, but he is back on the board, and we know that Zverev will be somewhat under pressure as well in the next couple of sets. 1 hour 40 minutes. It's not been the longest match. Maybe that can save Novak's energy here. Um, Legal drinking age in Poland is 18, Ghosty. I think that's that's probably a good number to have it at. I mean, US 21, that feels excessive. Obviously, most people still get their first drink before they were 18. That's how it works. You've gotta enjoy DK's analysis with a few good beers. Like you cannot enjoy my analysis without the beers. The beers are definitely quintessential for it. If you don't get the beers, you're not gonna be able to listen to me in the long run. Well, it's not a big deal typically to get hit with a tennis ball. It's kind of like where it hits you, right? It's if it's in the eye, like Shapovalov did to the umpire. And oh, you're actually talking about that now, yeah. Nicolas Mahut as well in a Wimbledon final. Was it 2019 when he and Roger Vasselin were playing Cabal Farah and he got hit a couple of times as well, like close to the eye. Yeah, that's totally understandable. If you with the Djokovic line umpire, obviously she got hit in the neck, so that's another like just pressure point, I suppose, right? If you get hit in the genitalia as well, I can understand that. So it's really all about where you get hit. If it's like in the arm or something, I mean, you're not gonna die, obviously, but if you get hit in an unpleasant spot, yeah, it can hurt 100%. Who has a better chance of putting on a better match versus Sinner out of these two? We were talking about this a bit with Snehil earlier. I would say probably Zverev, just because I don't think that Novak would be able to like keep up the intensity with Sinner over the course of a best of 5 sets match. Zverev maybe has a slight chance of just like grinding Sinner down on clay, but considering how their Australian Open final looked, I can't say that I'm giving you this answer with a lot of confidence. Yeah, Chapo needed to be disqualified in that instance, and like there was no argument for it. He obviously knew that he was going to be. Was he aiming at Arno Gabas? No. But but that was just an unfortunate thing. Yeah. It's kind of like anytime a player puts a ball out of the stadium up in the air, you can kind of think, well, if they mishit it, they could have ended up like Shapovalov, right? So the correct way of thinking about this is just don't do it. Just don't do stuff like that, because on the 1 out of 100 instances, you might end up like Shapo and just hit somebody you really don't want to hit. Can we have you and Silky on a stream for the men's final on Sunday? I likely won't be on the men's final on Sunday. Could still depend on how the challenger finals are scheduled. Prosteov is on Saturday, but on Sunday there's going to be Tyler. Sorry, not Tyler. Yeah, Tyler, Heilbronn, and Birmingham. Could depend on that, but also I will have some Stuttgart work to do on Sunday already, so I don't think I will be on the stream. I just can't be on the stream for like 3 hours. No, I think I'll have way too much to do. Wow, what is this question? You're being sent to a deserted island with full amenities and on a tennis court, but you're only allowed to wear one logo. I mean, Ghosty, I don't know if you remember that about me, but Roger Federer is my favorite tennis player, so probably that. Also, we have Vansh backstage. Now front stage.
Hey, yes, I told John I would be here by the 3rd set, so here I am.
I know. He notified me of that, and you are very much on time, my friend. Have you been watching, or were you busy doing something else?
Yeah, I've been busy working and watching, so.
Okay. So what are your feelings after the first 2 sets?
Well, the first set, honestly, Djokovic did not look that quick to me, and Zverev got off to a pretty exchanges, particularly the physical points. But in the second set, he plays that he kind of got a little bit passive at one stage. I think the 1-2 game, the game that he got broken, he did not do pretty much anything apart from serve. So off the ground, he was very passive. He kind of allowed Djokovic space and time from the middle of the court. And then Djokovic started working the angles. He started getting his forehand into play. He started bringing Zverev forward a bit more. And that's where he tends to have a bit more success. Because actually, backhand to backhand, Djokovic probably doesn't want to do that the whole time. So he's breaking it up. And these sort of cat and mouse exchanges, that's where Djokovic is getting the better of him right now. I'm not. I will look at the stats, but I'm pretty sure net points won. Pretty sure Djokovic's percentage is a bit higher.
Yeah, just as you were talking about that on my screen, I saw a ridiculous cat and mouse exchange again from Novak forcing it with a drop shot. I'm using a slower stream today, so we should be probably closer to each other. I've just watched Djokovic hit this forehand volley across the net, 440 love.
Yeah, I'm at Zverev is serving at the line at 1-0.
Oh, so you are even quicker. Okay.
Oh, okay. Actually, maybe faster then.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll check if my regular stream is somewhat close to that because earlier it just wasn't working. But anyway, we'll figure it out as usual. Yeah, I mean, as for what you've just said, it still feels like Zverev kind of has the upper hand. Like most of the time, he should be able to out rally Novak, but obviously Djokovic has a lot of tools, and especially the drop shot he's been using very well to make sure that the points are snappier, and he also gets Zverev out of his comfort zone. And what else was I gonna say? Yeah, Zverev just cannot afford to be gifting him a game like he did in the second set, right? That break was just not really earned. The next one where Novak was threatening to do it again, like that was actually a way better game from Djokovic than the one where he broke. That was like the 6 points in that game, but of course I'm talking about the 4 that Zverev lost, where he just like starts hitting random unforced errors on the second or third shot of the rally. It never really happened again so far in this match, but yeah, eventually he just couldn't afford that.
Yeah, I was curious to see what the breakdown is between the 9+ shots and let's say 1 through 8. And I guess
so that far should be on the RG website, no?
Yeah, so far they're very even. It's 64 points apiece. 9+ shots. Zverev narrowly leads 17-16. And Djokovic leads the 5 through 8, and Zverev leads the 1 through 4 by 1 point. So it kind of got evened out a little bit in the second set, but also that has to do with the passive game that Zverev played at 1-2. Where
is it already 2-1 for you, by the way?
It is, yeah.
Okay, we'll see what this stream is like. Snehil, I was just using the slower one because when I was starting, the faster one was not working for me for some reason. It kept breaking up. But it seems like it's fine now, so I'm probably gonna sit on it and we'll see. Anyway, yeah, that's always obviously one of the issues we run into. So again, it was close, the 9+ breakdown, or
it's 17-16 in favor of Zverev. So not like a massive edge right now.
Okay, where's the edge? I guess there's no edge, right?
There's no edge.
Neither.
64 points apiece. Slight edge for Djokovic in the 5 through 8, and then 1 point edge for Zverev in 0 through 4.
Been really close for sure. Some of the signals we're getting from Novak with the heavy breathing and stuff, they might not look that promising, but it's also nothing we haven't seen him manage. Actually, there was a question from Jake like 10 minutes ago, and Snehil was talking about it earlier too. So I'm gonna ask you that: who has a better chance against Sinner?
Right now, I would probably lean Zverev if it's in these conditions.
Okay. It's gonna be night as well, so
yeah. Just because I worry that for Djokovic, Sinner is kind of an upgraded version of him right now, and he's won 4 of their last 5 matches. I mean, I also worry for. I mean, I would also be worried for Zverev if I was a fan of his. Like after the Australian Open final, after what we saw there, where he couldn't even get to a break point. I don't think either player has tremendously has a great chance right now, to be honest, in the semi. Maybe because of the intangibles, you would lean Djokovic. Maybe because of the sort of the surface conditions where they're at in their career, you would lean Zverev.
Yeah, I went Zverev, but I totally understand if somebody says, oh, Australian Open final, it was, total demolition, like absolutely no chance. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I just feel like maybe he would have a shot at just grinding Yannick down somehow on the Parisian clay. With Djokovic, probably less so. The better matches that he's played with Yannick recently were maybe ones where he can serve extremely well and keep the points short. Not necessarily the ones where he just tries to play Sinner at his own game, which is actually the Djokovic game at first. So I guess Sinner would be trying to play Djokovic at his own game, and then Djokovic would also be trying to play Sinner at his own game.
Yeah. Maybe the extra time on the clay could help him on the forehand, but that's also would have to require him to be
Novak or Zverev?
Novak.
Oh, Novak, okay. Because I guess it works for both.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Zverev's forehand in general isn't quite as offensive as Novak's.
Definitely not. Well, Novak definitely is finding a good rhythm on these drop shots. Tough to read them, playing them in good positions too. Excellent touch. Of course, it's always just backhand down the line, but if they're executed this well, who cares?
He's got Zverev pretty far behind the baseline when he's been going for them, and pretty far out of position. But he's hitting them pretty well.
Yeah, there's definitely
what the drop shot number is. I'm pretty sure they should have that on the.
I think that's also on the. I think that's also on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, 21-5 for drop shots. So these are just drop shots played. Of course, the success rate is probably going to be pretty high still. Let's see. Yeah, 21-5 right now for the drop shots. That doesn't surprise me.
I'm surprised it's 5. I would think it's less. Or fewer.
I suppose there was like that one redrop that he hit on the break point at 1-4.
Yes, and it was pretty good. Yeah,
there was
that probably counts. Yeah, there was a drop shot as well that I remember him hitting, and I was just very surprised he went for it, and I don't think he won the point.
Yeah.
A pretty uneventful start to the first set. Feel like they've gotten through pretty quickly in their first 4 games.
That time Zverev sort of tried to change directions with his forehand, but hit it pretty far wide. Yeah, Matthew says Novak and Zverev would have a better chance if they were facing Carlos. Then compared to Sinner, yeah, they would have a better chance.
Yeah, I don't know how well synchronized we are, but that was a pretty insane point for Zverev. Could have been love 30 here. Novak approaches the net, gets the volley, but
oh wow, that was a crazy pass. Yeah,
Zverev somehow comes up with this, going backwards, very narrow corridor as well. Again, Novak is uploading the shot like third or fourth
good
time.
volley, pretty good backhand volley on the stretch for Djokovic.
Yeah,
could have been a little shorter, but honestly, no, it was.
No, he kind of did everything right. I mean, Zverev had to play that last shot, from behind himself, That's never easy, and somehow he landed that so precisely as well.
Yep, Djokovic applauding it.
I guess a rare example of a cat and mouse point where actually Zverev coming out on top, but it did take, something pretty special.
Yeah. Would you say just based on shot quality when Zverev has time, he has maybe the best backhand on tour? I mean, there's a vast disparity between how good he is at hitting shots on the run on the backhand compared to the forehand. Although he's been missing some first serves in this game, right?
Yeah, and it's putting him in trouble. 15-30, gonna survive the next point though, but there was a bit of a bad bounce there where he barely gets the forehand over the net. Obviously, it's the forehand as usual. Basavaredi, Ghosty, funny you mentioned that, yeah. Again, withdrew from something recently. Unfortunately, hasn't really pushed on this season. Was it 4 first serves missed in a row?
Yep.
He's just missed his 5th as well. Very un-Zverev-like. That might make him go below Sebastian Baez in the 12-month first serve percentage stats. Unless he was already below Sebastian Baez, which is very much possible.
Djokovic going a little bit back on that second serve return, trying to get more air under the forehand. Both players are going to try to go lockdown mode in this rally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This anti-tennis that Zverev is playing, it's kind of starting to hurt him here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, sure, you can trade 25 shots backhand cross court, but
if there's only a time before Djokovic changes it up and then he goes to the backhand cross court drop shot, which he's been doing so well, but at the same time he's being allowed that rhythm,
28 shots in this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And sure, fine, you traded so many shots, but eventually it's still Novak who does play another drop shot and just
a few slices in there too, just to get Zverev, keep Zverev honest, go to the forehand once in a while.
He was doing that a lot in the first set as well. When he was trying to get that re-break in the opening set, I think he played like 2 consecutive points. He basically won because of a combination that started due to a slice down the line to the Djokovic to the Zverev forehand, and then I was disappointed that he didn't keep going with it on the break point. On the break point, he just kind of played exactly what Zverev wanted. But yeah, obviously 5 missed first serves in a row. Zverev said, "That's enough. Now I gotta start landing it."
Yeah, Djokovic a little frustrated he didn't get that back into play. This could be a big hold if he gets out of this game. It's a balance with Zverev when it comes to the first serve percentage, right? Because he's serving like 70-75% most of the time. But against the very best players, he's got to also be more precise. Like, kind of like he found the right balance on that point in deuce. And then goes behind Djokovic for the winner. But But there's that block return, and that play is going to work every time because you drag Zverev forward on a low ball, and then you just make him play one more volley. I find that Zverev has actually improved his net game when it comes to coming in on his own terms. But still, when the opponent kind of drags him in, and he's in a little uncomfortable spot where he's having to hit these volleys from like basically knee height because he's so tall, still kind of difficult for him to execute. So yeah, another second serve look here for Djokovic at deuce, and he's going to stand further back. That was a pretty good forehand cross-court return. So far, it's Djokovic doing all the attacking at this point. He's going to try to finish with a spectacular backhand volley. He needed 2 of them.
Well, yeah, but also Zverev just plays it right on his racket, right? I mean, really needed to try to look for that down the line corridor as narrow as it was.
But it was the forehand cross-court angle that I think did most of the work.
Oh, yeah.
And also a good return of serve as well. So it never really felt like Zverev was in control of the point.
Definitely wasn't. And that's going to be a second break point this game for Novak. If someone ever like makes a compilation, something like why Zverev, Rublev, and Tsitsipas never won a slam, this point should be included in theirs.
Yeah.
Just absolutely
similar...
tragic. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you guys. 2 just pickups from Novak. Novak is just literally not even hitting the ball. He's just like passing it to Zverev onto the other side of the net. And because it's a short ball on the forehead, Zverev is just gonna miss it pretty like comically, to be honest.
Yeah, and it works every time because
yeah,
Zverev knows. I mean, Novak knows that Zverev is uncomfortable in that part of the court, and he basically has to try to force the issue. And when he tries to go for it, he has like no confidence in it whatsoever.
Hits a good serve, but after that, it's just 2 shots.
Yeah,
pretty close to the serve, bouncing pretty close to the service line. First one, Zverev is already a little unsure about, but then the second is on the forehand, and probably it's a shot that like most amateur players would, if not finish off, then just get it into the court.
Mm-hmm.
And Zverev just does not have that comfort on this wing.
And so Djokovic does that twice. I mean, once on a deuce point where he hits that forehand block return, and then again on the break point.
Yeah.
And there was also the first forehand of the game that Zverev missed at love 15. That was kind of a big sign for me. Like he missed that wide, and he just tried to change directions on it, and it was kind of short and spinny and wide at the same time. And I was just like, oh, okay, the forehand is very shaky in this game. Interestingly, actually, Djokovic also missed a kind of an easy forehand in the first game of the match at 30-all. And then he didn't really come close to getting back on Zverev's serve, except for that 4-3 game. He did have 1 break point there.
Yes, 29 shot rally on that break point. Had the best shot of it, the backhand cross-court acceleration, and then just didn't really like go after it.
Yeah. So right now Zverev is not getting the advantage that he needs on the serve, and he's not winning enough of a gap in the 9+ shot rallies right now either. And like that's his best hope. He's got to like extend these points.
Zverev watches Netflix with no volume.
Okay.
I've heard the toilet seat comment earlier. Like you've definitely used it before, but I haven't heard that one. From this match, I can finally understand Zverev's quality as a player, said WT. Well, Not from that break point, definitely not. Although here Novak also has a pretty spectacular miss on the forehand volley.
Oh, yeah, he set that
Happens
up
to
really well.
anybody.
Set that up pretty well. No, for the most part, Djokovic, I feel like, has played this tactically pretty well. And he's kind of gotten quicker as the match has gone on. Like, his movement has improved. Because there were some shots in the first set where I was like, Zverev was hitting forehand down the line winners, and Djokovic was nowhere near the ball.
Yeah, they both had a similar one like that in the first few games. Definitely when like they're playing just a longer exchange where both of them have to hit out of the corners, Zverev is looking more dynamic, but Novak is just doing well at like avoiding that type of play.
Yeah. But I think as the matches wore on, Djokovic also feels more comfortable going forehand to forehand, like just trading cross court. He's like, all right, this pattern is perfect for me. And then the backhand to backhand one, he's like, okay, if Zverev is drifting so far back, I'll just throw in the drop shot both down the line and cross.
Yeah,
And
there's
then-
nothing scary in that pattern, even though the Zverev backhand is so good. It's not like suddenly
Yeah.
he's gonna switch it up down the line and just blow you off the court. No, not really.
There's just too much predictability right now in the way he's
Yeah.
sort of going about it. So
It's gonna be a really sad loss for Zverev if he loses that because, well, he's gonna feel like he had everything in his hands and just like completely blew it because of the issues he has as a player. You know, being very predictable, not being
He
able to
will
step
be-
in and take
he was
risks,
a bit
take charge.
frustrated at how target he was, like Jake says in the chat.
Yeah,
But not
And
so
Novak
much. I don't know if he can
Novak is
point
just playing
like,
this like he's reading him like a book, and then like
Yeah.
that's
and there you go. You see the down the line change, and Zverev just looks a bit lost. You know, he's like 5 feet behind the baseline, like kind of
predictably
wondering where
turgid.
he's going. Yeah, that's a kind of a good way to describe it. Yeah, predictably turgid.
Yeah, Novak is just gonna go for that down the line forehand, and yeah,
Yeah.
gonna take the reward, gonna reap it. And Zverev for the last 20 minutes has not gone for anything else other than just being frustrated and
Mhm.
standing there as if I'm like as if something insane was happening that he's not winning, but he's not winning because he's not really trying to, let's say.
But he's sort of waiting for things to happen rather than
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Proactively taking the match in his own hands.
Kind of waiting for the first set to come back, for the same things he did in the first set to just start
Right
giving him the
now,
win again.
This match looks very similar to their US Open and Australian Open matches, where in the US Open match, Zverev actually came back in the fourth. So maybe we'll see if he has another wind in him. And then actually in both matches, the fourth was a lot closer because actually.
What's the Australian Open match? What's the year?
21, the abdominal year.
Before the final. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was the quarterfinal. He won 7-6 in the fourth, but he had to save a set point before the tiebreak, and Zverev won the first set in the tiebreak, and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have that many memories from that. Of course, the one at the U.S. Open I remember much better.
Yeah.
2 matches away from the counter slam.
That one got very physical. Of course,
Yeah,
amazing
I did
form.
mention that earlier as like another one of these Zverev missed chances at a slam.
Yeah, but then you sort of played his worst tennis at the start of the fifth, and Djokovic goes up 5-love, and it's over.
Yeah, exactly. So was there for the taking, Novak, that day. Today, it seemed like he's there for the taking, but last 20 minutes, it doesn't feel like that, and Zverev is just collapsing here.
Yeah. I feel like he had a slight window, Zverev, in the first 2 games of the second set. If he manages to somehow get to a break point or.
I mean, the 3-1 hold was very tough for Novak, right?
Yeah, he had to save a break point in that one.
And then just in general, that was when he was looking at his worst physically, I think.
Yeah.
But
even there, but that's when you could also see the
now
Djokovic
he's the one
running.
lost.
Yeah,
Zverev looks like a lost player at the moment. Mentally, just looks completely toast.
yeah. I mean, this game just feels like he's sort of giving it away.
Mentally, he just looks fried. You know, he looks like he's not even gonna fight for this set, and I've already seen this point. So
Oh wow, he makes. I mean, the chair umpire is going to come down and check it.
yeah,
Who's the
it's
chair
out.
umpire? Is it Torte? Emily Torte?
No, it's Luis
I don't know.
Engel.
Okay. No, it's not Torte. I just couldn't see her. from here.
Turt, by the way.
Yeah, Turt.
Yeah, Turt.
Okay.
Louise Angmar Engel, something like that. I
Okay.
think she's Swedish. Ansemar Engel, Engel, something like that. Anyway, I don't
Yeah.
remember. But yeah, she's umpired some big matches before for sure. Not already Turt. Yeah. 5-2 Djokovic. Yeah, Zverev in this game just looked completely done. Of course, it's still a best of 5-set match. 2-1 lead doesn't have to mean that Novak will win, but what a turnaround this is. Second set, Matthew and in the chat and me as well, we were just saying that this still looks like a really uphill battle for Novak, but he really needs that second set. You know, it's not going to be possible to come back from 2 sets to love down, and kind of like Zverev is still pushing him. All the holds have to be worked for. Right now, Zverev just looks like a defeated player, and if he doesn't shake himself out of this sometime soon, I'm not even talking about this set, but next one, Novak might actually produce the win here, which, well, it wasn't crazy to me before the match, but kind of seeing the first hour and 15 minutes of this, was not expecting that we'd be in this position.
I was expecting a closer third set, you know.
Yeah.
But these last 4 games, that's where Djokovic has really found a lot of separation, and Zverev just looks totally.
What the hell is
like,
he doing?
mentally
again?
fried,
Wow.
I guess, maybe. Which there's no
Completely.
excuse really, because he came into this match super fresh. I mean, they both have, right? They barely lost
Both
any.
have, yeah. I think the previous game, like Zverev was just basically thinking about how am I losing this, you know, also thinking about all the previous losses he's had at Grand Slam level where he felt like he should be winning, and yeah, for now it's a little too much for him, especially when you see the first point of the 8th game as well. Just looks like he wants to get this over with in the third set, and I don't know, will he have enough to restart? Let's see, but yeah, this is not a great effort the last few minutes. Oh my. Could be a pretty horrible slam for that 90s generation again. I mean, all of them
that generation is just lost.
All of them suffering brutal losses, but you know, Rublev at least got to Sinner, Zverev at least got to Djokovic, Medvedev and Tsitsipas I guess didn't, but I don't know, just watching what Zverev is doing on the court right now, the last 10-15 minutes, this might be the worst of them if he continues like that into the 4th set. He just looks done mentally. That you rarely see him like that even. I think, you know, even the Australian Open final, he was believing in himself a little bit more at least. But let's see. Maybe there's still a reset coming. For now, 3 set points Djokovic. Great serve and volley. Zverev is not going to attempt to chase it down. 2-1 Djokovic. What a turnaround over the last 20 minutes or so.
The one thing that's pretty different about Zverev this year is usually there's at least one win in the first 5 months of the year that I'm like, that he gets, that I'm like, oh, okay, that was impressive. I don't think there's been anything like that this year. Like this is not the same player also from 12 months ago.
Yeah. Interesting, Sean, about this as well. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't hate to see him go all out a bit more against some random guys to see if he can do it. Yeah.
By the way, we're talking a lot about Zverev, but I will say Djokovic, you know, he's hitting the forehand on the line really well. Just in general, he's getting himself in attacking positions. He's executing the drop shot. So he is very much like he looked, you know, the first set and a half, Djokovic looked flat. He looked like the older player. He looked a bit sort of worn down.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we're definitely talking more about Zverev, mostly because, well, okay, yeah, Djokovic is putting him in this position in terms of, just playing this like a professor of the sport. Nolan earlier asked me if I wanted to be a student of the game or a professor of the game. Novak today is a professor of the game, 100%. He's just reading him like, like a book, indeed. And it's like the last 20 minutes, still the main thing is how Zverev is looking, just not up to the challenge, not up to the fight. So that's why we're definitely talking about him a bit more. We also know exactly what we will get from Novak, right? In terms of the effort, the mentality, and it's just not it right now from Zverev. So let's see if he can still fight with the GOAT here.
No. Let's see. Like I said, those other two matches he managed to reset after a one-sided third set. So, I mean, not as one-sided as this. Those were at least one break.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen something like that in the Zverev Djokovic rivalry, to be honest, where Zverev just looks so defeated for 20 minutes and just doesn't care.
Not in the 3 matches they played in the slams, at least. Not including the retirement, yeah.
Yeah, probably some of the maybe like Alcaraz clashes in Madrid, maybe. I'm sure you can find some instances, but I don't really remember it happening in this matchup. Like there's always at least some fight. But yeah, I mean he kind of wasn't ready to keep battling for the third set. Let's see if there's any change up in the fourth. Novak is obviously just gonna put on the pressure, so can't get away with much here, Zverev.
Oh, that's another point where again, like Djokovic setting up all the offense with his backhand on the line, being so precise to pin Zverev in that forehand corner, and then he has more space to work with. Okay, a little lucky with the net cord there. But in general, it feels like Djokovic just has so much time to produce whatever he wants right now. And that's a huge shift. So this is like a must hold for Zverev here. By the way, another really good forehand cross-court return from Djokovic.
Yeah, must hold and a crazy point here between them at 15-all.
Yeah. Djokovic still able to dig out these really good defensive shots on the backhand. Another pretty accurate backhand slice down the line. Yeah, another really long physical rally here. We'll see who comes out on top.
Honestly,
come forward here.
After this,
did he actually make that volley? That was a pretty spectacular.
Yeah. After this, I kind of understand if Zverev just gonna be defeated until the end of the fourth set.
I mean, that was just so masterful, dude. That was like,
what the hell was that?
Like a surgeon operating like with the.
I mean, there was no angle there. Like it's defying the laws of physics, basically.
I mean, honestly, that was an insane volley. Like
there was no angle. Like there was no angle to hit it. It was no space, not at all.
That was a crazy volley. I actually thought that was the right play by Zverev to go right at Djokovic and just make him play that shot, but you got to credit Djokovic there for getting that done. He's 19 for 25 now in the match at the net.
You have the stats open. Has Zverev hit a double fault so far?
Actually, don't. I just saw that on my screen, but no, neither player.
No, he hasn't. Yeah, I was thinking he hasn't. Yeah, never mind.
But now he has.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked.
Well, I could kind of see it coming because
I didn't remember him hitting one.
There was a big pause after the first serve, and also just given the way this game has gone. Oh, if there ever was a time for one.
I was talking about this during the opening set, but like a lot of this matchup is always about whether Zverev feels like he can out-rally Djokovic and the other way around. And he was at the
the best
beginning of
feeling
it,
you
but
want
now it's just like, he has no ideas whatsoever. And out-rallying Djokovic is not really working out anymore. And now we see the issues just like full on, really.
Yeah. Djokovic, by the way, moving really well in these corners, and he doesn't feel like any threat whatsoever on the other side.
He's not really like getting pushed too far wide either, right?
No.
I mean, he's moving well, but he's moving.
The thing is that Zverev is still hitting very, very central,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's pace, but like all Djokovic has to do is just change a little bit of directions, move the ball around. But she's so good at it. I'm not saying like that.
Big distance to cover.
I'm not saying it like it's easy, but he's not being pushed wide enough.
He's not at all.
To make it so, like, I don't even
every
think
single shot from Zverev is the same. Like, it's just middle of the court.
Because right now the depth isn't there and the width isn't there. So how are you going to out-rally Novak?
Yep.
Like, you're just going to hope that he's going to miss these redirections, which he's like a master at. Nobody redirects the ball better than Djokovic. Yeah, 8 volley winners, 5 out of 6 7 volley points.
Yeah, he lost one in a long game. Was it the 1-3? Yeah, I think it was the 1-3 from Zverev's perspective in the second set. There was a backhand volley he missed on the 7 volley.
Right. That was to get to a break point, right?
Is it Zverev's average clay court season haunting him, Snehil? I mean, no. It's Zverev's inability to play anything then.
The thing is, he has had a pretty average season overall, but it's just you still thought with the 4 wins here, with how fresh he is, with just the conditions as well and the matchup, you still thought this would be a lot closer than it is right now. So
I don't think it matters at all, like what sort of season he's had. It's just Zverev, We're watching Alexander Zverev. Unfortunately, the biggest liabilities, the biggest errors of his game just coming to the surface. And it's kind of the Australian Open final as well. I remember some people were complaining about that performance and just saying that, Zverev could have done this, could have done that. We're sort of seeing who he is as a player. Like, his biggest flaws are just right on the surface here. And obviously he's not
but
out
none
of
of it
this
is surprising, right? I mean, we've known this. Like, this is the same Zverev for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Why is it surprising? Because, he starts out the match so well, and you're also thinking, I think Matthew pointed this out in the chat earlier, that the quarters, it don't feel like this is the moment yet when he chokes, right?
But also, like, he started very well against Djokovic in these other slam matches. Like, it's nothing new. He hasn't been able to sustain it longer than.
Well, I'm saying unfortunately, Jake. I kind of don't care who wins the match, because both of them, I think, are losing to Sinner. I'm not really sure who would give him a better match, but I'm saying unfortunately because, well, the last 30 minutes of it, we're just watching one guy mope around the court and look completely defeated, while the other is just, giving a masterclass, and it's not that fun.
I would say, actually, on clay, I maybe give Djokovic a better shot against Sinner than a faster surface. Just because I think maybe he can at least get Yannick off the baseline. But and perhaps as the match goes on, maybe he can get a better read on the serve. He can sort of dissect his way into a set or two at least. But right now, everything is just going Djokovic's way. Even that forehand lob that he's just hit right here at 30-15 and then finishes it off with a volley. I mean, this is just pinnacle stuff.
Yeah, it's an absurd shot as well. He can make any shot right now. Djokovic, wouldn't surprise you. That volley that was defying the laws of physics. That lob here, which is, we were talking about
drop shot.
The Zverev one earlier, right? When he was just hitting from behind himself here. It's the same for Novak.
Yeah. By the way, this forehand drop shot right here, that reminds me of the ones he was hitting against Musetti in Miami, where he just beat Lorenzo like 2-2, and he beat him with the drop shot, but on the forehand wing.
Yeah, pretty rare for Novak to go there, but clearly he can. This was a question from Ghosty some time ago that I didn't see. And in terms of raw tennis intelligence, who are your top 3 all-time tennis brains?
Like player or like?
I think it means player. I mean, we're just watching one of them, probably.
Yeah.
Gilles Simon.
Sure. Yeah, Djokovic would definitely be in my top 3. Mostly because when people ask me like what impresses you the most about Djokovic or like what's his biggest skill, it's actually just like how many ways he can win points. Like the number of ways that he can adjust his game in any kind of conditions. Pretty crazy. I think that separates him from most of the other greats too. He's just like such a chameleon, you know? So probably he's definitely on it.
Sorry, who?
Novak.
Oh, Novak, yeah. No, I thought you said something at the end. I didn't hear you for a second. Never mind.
Oh, I was just talking about how Novak is such a chameleon and how well he
Yeah, that I heard. I didn't hear the last few words, and I thought maybe you throw in another name or said that. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, of course, some of you guys here are also making good points. I didn't see any of Squire, Agvi, Keen. But I think it's not purely about the Zverev level. Like he's not losing this much because his level is poor. Like his level got poor when Djokovic got in his head, and when Zverev showed once again that he has no ability to adjust.
Yeah, but also Djokovic is kind of exposing limitations in his game, right? Like his inability to sort of take matters into his own hands, win the cat and mouse points.
I didn't hear that quote, Snahil, but I think, yeah, in terms of his mentality, as somebody suggested a second ago, I think he was thinking about the next matches as well already. I mean, it would be tough not to, you know. He's a guy who the entire career he's chasing the Grand Slam title, right? The elusive Grand Slam title now, so it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, his mentality has been very, very questionable for me the last 5 months. Just like some of the things he said in press conferences, said after the Sinner match, you know, like after the Sinner loss, right? He was like, "Oh, you know, I think Yannick is better than me in every single area," and then he started listing every single one, and then he was like, "And except for the serve." Which, by the way, even Sinner served better than him. But anyway.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this. We were like, actually, you know, Sinner's serve might be better than Zverev's.
And then there was like that interview that he gave in Rome where like he got really annoyed in an interviewer because they brought up that he didn't do very well in the Masters 1000s this year.
Yeah.
He was like very quick to sort of point out that he won Munich and all that. And I kind of was just like, that's not something you do if you're like very secure about where you are right now.
I don't think he's very secure at all. I mean, he's always been, I think, confidence-wise, you know, usually people who display a lot of it, they're actually pretty fragile on the inside. And this match is showing us that again. I mean, if we have 2 losses this year for Zverev at the slams, and if we're assuming, you know, it's all about the slams for him at this stage, if we have 2 losses and one will be Sinner and one will be this, if this match just, you know, has no twists from here, then this is a very depressing season for him. I don't think he's been poor as people say. He's still gonna be like top 4 in the race. But yeah, these slam losses, if this continues, Jesus Christ. Like that's the kind of loss that makes you think his slam window is over.
But also level-wise, don't you think he hasn't had like a great win this year? Because like I can't think of one.
Did he have one last year is kind of my question, because I think
last year he was so much more consistent, right? Like he was.
Yeah, but again, did he have a great win? Because I think last year it was kind of the same. Like when he was winning, Australian Open, but that's the beginning of the season. But I'm talking about later, like when he was number 2 in the world, but he won Paris, he won Rome. But these were all events where he doesn't really beat anybody, spectacular, no?
Yeah, not in the title runs at least. Um, and then at RG, he was getting bossed around by Rhoda and Greek Spore, and
Yeah, I think last year, literally, his only great win was Alcaraz in Australia.
I think
So
you're
I don't
right.
think it's that different compared to
Yeah.
2024, is what I'm saying.
I guess that's correct. I don't remember any other like top win.
At least he troubled Sinner in Cincinnati, though. At least he was 2-1 on
Yeah.
Alcaraz in RG, so you could argue that he was competing against them a bit better. But I guess, we haven't really had many chances to check that this year, besides, of course, Australian Open final. He hasn't played Alcaraz this year, has he?
No.
Yeah, and he's only played Sinner once. Of course, not many opportunities to play Sinner at the moment. Well, in the next few months, that could easily change. But the way this is going, he might also avoid Alcaraz or Sinner again. So yeah, at least last year we had more of a sample size of him playing them and also troubling them for the most part. But yeah, let's see. He's still just one break behind, but we'll need to get his issues sorted out relatively quickly. A net court winner on the first point of this fourth game might help. Apparently, according to Keen, you need to talk to Victor the Barber.
Oh. Oh, Ken, I normally I get like this low fade, but the problem is it only lasts like 5 weeks. So I think I'm due for another one of those. But yes, Victor the Barber, very famous because of Carlos Alcaraz.
Ronaldo scored a winner. Okay, Snehil. I mean, I remember him being in pretty bad shape at the Euros, so good for him. He's still doing something for the national team. I guess no other number 9-ish player around that is this good.
By the way, Zverev has had a couple of looks in this game. He did get to that backhand drop shot that Djokovic hit. He tried to sort of scope it with a cross-court dink of his own that he missed, and then here he just misses like for him, a pretty routine backhand. So instead of like 15-30, it's 30-15.
Yeah, he won the first point with, a big slice of luck. But from there, I still feel like we're closer to a second break on Zverev than Zverev actually getting a break back. It's gotta be. I mean, yeah, I don't want to say like the match is over yet because obviously it's not. But what I'm watching right now is probably like one of the worst, top player mental performances I've seen, to be honest. Especially as it's in contrast to Djokovic, right? Because when they were playing the US Open, for example, 2020 with team, both of them were just so nervous. So you don't really like see it as much, right? When the contrast isn't that massive. And here you've got, the master of the game and Zverev. Well, who needs to set up an alarm clock and wake up? somewhat uncharacteristic error from Novak. I mean, he was using that forehand slice into the backhand slice into the forehand corner of Zverev pattern again.
Definitely the first like real unforced error that we've seen in a while.
Oh, definitely. Actually, might have been 2 in a row even, but yeah. So let's see. Deuce. Is there something that Zverev can do here? It's just really weird to watch how, that they keep trading these backhand scrolls. He gets nothing out of these exchanges, and yet you don't see him ever trying to do, he doesn't need to pull the trigger completely down the line, right? Just not stay in this. Because eventually it's just going to lead to Djokovic playing another drop shot and winning the point.
But we've seen this also throughout the whole clay court season. Lorenzo Musetti, Francisco Comesaña in South America. Like, the drop shot is just so readily available. Because look at how far back Zverev is. He's just he's nowhere near the baseline, and the incoming ball is of no threat. It's like service line, and it's like right in Djokovic's shoulder area where he has so many options. Even if he doesn't hit a drop shot, Zverev is just going to be defending.
Yeah, that's a good point as well, that the ball is just not coming in with like that much pace, heaviness, width, depth. So it's easy to play that drop shot, right? You have so many potential ways to do it. Usually when someone is playing like a heavy shot, it's faster, it's deeper, it's, I don't know, you're going to struggle to play a drop shot off it. And with Zverev, everything is so lifeless here that Novak just has so many ways of playing this out. And he's obviously using them right now,
and
full capacity.
And even there, like, he has so much time. He could maybe even hit another drop shot and maybe get away with it, but he goes forehand inside in. Like, it's and that Zverev is going to have trouble defending that for the most part. And there's also this like pattern this year of like Zverev losing matches with like leads during this like 3-month stretch when Sinner wasn't around and he was number 2. This is kind of another one where it's just like all of his confidence goes down after the opponent has like sort of any response.
If Novak is 45 years old, he wins this match too, right? He's just...
I mean, yeah, because like the movement isn't what it was 4 or 5 years ago for sure, but like he's still gonna have the precision, he's still gonna have the tennis IQ, and he's still gonna have the enormous amount of experience. And it's like Zverev has a lot of experience too, but it's all bad experiences. So it's kind of like...
That's a good quote from this stream. Yeah, Zverev has a lot of experiences, bad experiences.
Yeah, like he's had a lot of experiences of coming really close but not getting the job done. So I don't. At some point, that stops helping you. Like at some point, that stops helping. It only makes it harder. That's why people always ask me, like, can Zverev win a major? I'm like, I mean, yeah, but like that doesn't mean he will. By the way, I saw this stat from Oleg on Twitter where he's like, no player in the 90s has made a semifinal of RG and Wimbledon.
Yeah, I saw your comment on that. Yeah,
I would
it's
say
it's,
for
it's
the most
definitely a
part.
little like skewed because one of the best players from the '90s is Rublev, and he hasn't made a semi ever. Medvedev is just good on one of the two surfaces. Tsitsipas is just one good on one of the two surfaces, so it's kind of also about that. But it's one of the many stats that we have seen about the '90s generation, just
Yeah.
being a bit lost, sandwiched in the middle of these big four that lasted way too long, that way longer than we expected, and then obviously Alcaraz and Sinner showing up earlier than we expected.
Do you think there's also like, I mean, we talk about their games, but do you think like mentally they just thought that like, okay, when the big three retire, it'll just be our time?
Yeah, I think they've all said it before, right? That they all expected to be like on top by, I don't know, 2019, 2020, and then that Djokovic, Nadal, Federer a little bit. I mean, he only really was a bother for them for a while, but especially Djokovic and Nadal, they still kept troubling them until like 2022, and Djokovic continues to trouble them. But then Alcaraz is already there, so
Yeah. So like players like Tsitsipas and Rublev, they haven't made the improvements that they would need to make in their game. They haven't like evolved enough. And
Zverev,
like,
throw him in there too.
yeah,
Medvedev is the only one who's like actively tried to do something, at least moderate success, but
yeah. So that's why you also have all these guys. Like you do have some of the guys in that generation who are like a tier below, like Fritz and Paul and players like that who sort of stepped it up later,
I
but
don't
they
know
were
if
never
this is
one
the
of those
reason,
guys.
but it's kind of funny, like interesting to think about as well, because all of these guys, they're like very much sticking to what they feel like they're comfortable with in terms of the coaching choices too. Like Zverev has been with his dad for ages and only tried some other guys, but it never really worked out.
Yeah.
Stefanos obviously with his dad for so many years. Rublev and Medvedev have had the same coaches for ages now too.
No, now
Have you
Rublev has nothing, but
Yeah, I know he has added Safin, Medvedev added Simone for a while, but that's also kind of interesting that they just kind of they feel very comfortable with the setup they have, and they've like had struggles to maybe step away from it. I don't know if it would help, but it's interesting to note that all four have kind of stuck with their current coaches
Medvedev is
for a
sort of the
long
only
while.
one who's done tinkering. Like he's done so much tinkering, right? Like he's tried a
Yes, with
million
his
things.
game,
Like,
yeah, 100%.
when it comes to the game, and so at least it's like okay, at least, and he's already won a slam, so you still feel like okay,
He didn't
like
bring him another one, so it didn't like actually succeed, but he tried. He tried.
yeah. Like he's constantly trying to find solutions, and he's just technically a little more limited, right? Just
Yeah, even if he's in a horrible spot right now, probably way worse than Zverev.
Yeah.
He has tried, yes. And Zverev, Rublev, Tsitsipas, they Zverev maybe is as good as he was a few years ago, but Rublev and Tsitsipas are just way worse. Haven't like caught up with the times or whatever.
I guess we will see Goran during the grass season for Steph, but you don't really have high expectations.
I mean, at least it's
It could
something.
happen. Yeah, he did go to that Babolat Aero Pro racket for a bit, but then after Rome, he went back to the old one. So, was kind of curious why he did that, because I thought he was getting some more on his backhand with the Aero Pro.
Yeah.
But I think for Clay, he felt like I'll just go back to the setup that worked for me before, and then he didn't have nearly as good results this Clay season. Okay, well, actually, Djokovic is giving away a couple of points in these service games. So Zverev does have like maybe half a window here. But actually, looking at the match time, I mean, it's been what, like 2.5 hours? Like this match could finish under 3 hours if Djokovic keeps holding, right?
Yeah, I think Snehi said it like 20, 30 minutes ago that he really wants Djokovic to win in 4 because that would ensure that, he's got a chance at least against Sinner to be fine physically. And indeed, it doesn't seem like it's going to be, if it ends in 3, if it ends in 4, it's going to be a match that like ruins Djokovic for Sinner. No, not at all.
No.
I still don't think he will have a good chance, but that's not going to be based on the physicality. But let's see, 30 all here. Maybe Zverev has a shot.
Oh my goodness. Zverev was going to show good speed though to get to that one. At 30 all. Djokovic going to the backhand drop shot. So Zverev does have a break point here. He is making a push.
Yeah, this time the Djokovic breakpoint drop shot comes back to bite him. Zverev has shown some decent speed chasing them down, but mostly the problem is what you mentioned, that he's so far away that he needs to like make massive leaps towards that. But yeah, this is the chance. Breakpoint 3-2 up in the 4th for Novak, and a breakpoint for Zverev. Maybe the one last call.
He'll have a second serve. Okay, they're just going to trade backhands, I guess. Djokovic going to try to outsolid him, maybe. Let's see.
Oh my, this is quite a point.
Oh gosh. She's gonna do it again. Oh gosh, they're just resetting. This is crazy. How many shots?
My guess is like 40. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, whoever wins.
Zverev played a 48-shot rally.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Oh my word. Oh my word. Dude, that point was insane.
2 drop shots for Novak.
That is crazy.
One Zverev got to and like should have won the point from there, but he plays a couple of pretty like average smashes. Novak gets them back, and another drop shot pass play gets him the point. I still haven't seen how long it was, but it was
wow, because holy cow, did Zverev have so many chances to finish that point.
Yeah, I feel like I aged like 2 years while watching
and also,
this.
holy cow, somehow Djokovic was the braver one, even though he was defending.
41 shots. I was so close, actually. I swear I wasn't counting because obviously at the very beginning I didn't know that it was going to last that long. But it felt incredibly long, and it wasn't just baseline trading. But again, the fact that it wasn't just baseline trading was not because Zverev did something. It was just purely because Novak played a couple of drop shots and tried to go for more interesting plays. And was rewarded in the end, even though he probably should have lost the point on one of these 2 smashes that Zverev had to hit. The first one especially. The second, I think, was pretty difficult.
Just using every open space in the court that he can get. And here, you're just going to see him again go to that white serve because Zverev is so far back. He's giving him, he's opening up that play for Djokovic. Let's serve out wide and come in on and wow. And also, if the serve is supposed to be the advantage again for Zverev, that hasn't been the case in this match. He's getting outserved. I mean, Djokovic has won more points behind his first serve. He's had more aces. I don't know what the serve stat is, but I assume probably more underturned serves too. He's doing a way better job on his second serve. Huge gap there. Although, yeah, I mean, Zverev is still very much alive in this game, but
just kind of incredible to me because Zverev, obviously he thinks that he has one of the best backhands in the game. He probably does, but what's the point if you don't use it? Like, what's the point of having that if the only thing you do is what, I don't know, Stefanos Tsitsipas could also do? Like, he could trade backhands cross court with Novak like that,
yeah,
probably. And
100%. Like,
yeah.
like also when Djokovic is trading, you just see he has way more quality, like way more width. He's actually trying to do something with it. He's building the point with the backhand cross court. Zverev is just hitting backhand cross court. Like he's just trading, but he's not. It's too central. It's too predictable. It's like it's just like allowing Djokovic runaround opportunities.
Yeah, in the first set there were some rallies when they were just both stretching for shots, and as I said, I think Zverev was looking a bit more dynamic, but Djokovic is just like in his comfort zone all the time, movement wise. Right now, he's just not. He doesn't have to cover great distances here. He's playing with inside the court pretty much, and Zverev is 2 meters behind. And yet, even all these backhands that he's just like passively trading with, there's almost like no legs in it. He's basically just like pushing them, and this leads to nothing. It just feels like a waste of having a really good backhand.
Yeah. The thing is, if this was Alcaraz or Sinner, I mean, there'd just be so much more quality on these balls, and Djokovic would be having to really like he'd be forced to go for so much more because they'd be shrinking the court, and they wouldn't have.
Zverev, I feel like, would play better against Alcaraz or Sinner because they wouldn't play him as smart as Djokovic is doing it.
And also, even these moon balls, these sort of like higher loopier shots are working well. Like we saw Alcaraz use that to great effect last year in the final. But basically, I've noticed if you have variety versus Zverev on clay, or I mean, it's just harder to implement that variety, I guess, on a hard court. But on a clay court, if you have those multiple ways of winning points, you're usually in decent shape. If you can neutralize the serve.
A lot of comments that we haven't gotten back to. I'll try to see some of them at least. Uber is in Poland, yes, for a few years now. Let's not take away from
there are also other opportunities. The other thing, if I was Zverev, I would try to change backhand down the line quicker. I'd try to be like kind of the first to redirect, go backhand down the line. He has such a good backhand down the line. And I feel like he's gone for them, but he's missed them and he's lost confidence in them, so he's not going for them anymore.
Yeah, but he's gone for them like what, 2-3 times. I mean,
yeah, but he feels so discouraged after those misses.
I know. Yeah, he's completely discouraged by everything right now. Lois Boison's live ranking right now shown as 65.
Wow.
If she was to win another match, she would jump to 35, and with a title, she would jump to top 20-ish. Yeah. So that's the situation. Basically, she's gonna be in the top 100 after this. How good was Stepanek? He seems like a clown. I don't know why he seems like a clown. Pretty random top 10 player, but was solid top 50 for years. Davis Cup hero. Very fun to watch. You'd like him, Keen, definitely.
Did he
with
actually get to the top
your
10?
preferences. Yeah, he was
Stepanek?
number 8. He
In
was an
singles?
ATP 1000 finalist, and he got to number 8. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that high.
But that's pretty random. Like his top 10 stint was really short and honestly not
Yeah.
too deserved, probably. But yeah, I mean, in the long run, he was still a very consistent player on tour for like 10 years or thereabouts. So
Right.
very fun to watch. 5 sets with Mari, even at the French in like 2016.
Yeah.
He was still mixing it up so much, going to the net, playing all these crazy shots by that point. So definitely a very fun watch. Well, this looks like a pretty quick game for free. It is worse in snooker, but then again, snooker is also not really a physical sport, right? So the fact that the class of 92 are still dominating the sport almost with Williams, Higgins, and O'Sullivan is not as bad, but yeah. I have some issues with saying that Medvedev maximized his potential considering he only has one slam, but game-wise, sure. Rublev hasn't dropped off as much as Tsitsipas, only because he didn't have that much to drop off from, I think. I mean, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Andre has become very feast or famine lately, where he's either going to lose a lot of matches in a row or he's going to go on a run.
Yeah, this would be good if he finished off these rounds. Like, I don't know, Montreal last year, plays a good event. Final is a horrible performance. Hamburg was the same. That's kind of like the worst part of it, I guess. What does Djokovic have to do versus Sinner? Yeah, just go all out attack, probably. Serve really well. Play the forehand so much more aggressively than he's doing it today. But, today he's playing it very nicely against Zverev. But
you will have
Sinner,
to keep Sinner guessing by mixing up the contact points, I feel like, a lot. Because if they just get into those baseline exchanges, Sinner has more power. His average rally ball is faster. And he takes it earlier. Like, I feel like Djokovic probably still has more variety, right? So...
Oh, definitely has more.
He's going to try to throw Sinner off when it comes to... The question is, will he have enough time to do that? Right now, he's being allowed so much time by Zverev.
Yeah.
Will
This
Sinner
is a
just
very different match. Like how he's playing today, it's gonna be obviously adapted completely to the Sinner match.
Yeah. Drop shots, higher loop air shots, the backhand drop shot, cross court down the line. It's all going to be really big.
Respect Diego Schwartzman because he won. What was it, Rome with John Isner? I think Diego was much better at the net than Zverev.
Much better. Yeah, his hands were actually really good, Diego.
Sean is right to point out that for all we know, Zverev might say that he was sick or something like that. He's definitely done that a few times.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would not be surprised. The most famous example was when he lost to Sinner in Roland Garros in 2020. The baby Sinner. And actually, probably recently he said he was sick, right? Was that Munich?
Yeah.
No, it was Hamburg.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, yeah. What's the largest jump a player has ever made? That's an interesting question, Ghosty. I mean, I have no idea, but winning a slam or even getting to a semi from 361. Oh, that would be Sloane Stevens, I guess, because she won the US Open on a PR, and she was like 800 something at the time, and she jumped around top 20. I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but I think it would be Sloane Stevens probably, or maybe one of did one of the comeback players, were they unranked, like Clijsters when she returned to win a slam? Was she unranked? I don't know. I would have to check. But definitely in recent years, I think it would be Sloane Stephens. Raducanu was already like 150 maybe when she won the US Open. So it wasn't as big as what Boison is doing, just strictly numbers wise. I am a bit of a snooker fan, Nick. Ronnie O'Sullivan fan especially, but I definitely am phasing out of the sport a bit. Just watching the World Championship for the most part. I was in Portugal for most of that this year, but before we left for the venue with John, I was always watching the first session from the Crucible.
Looks like there's a little bit of a pause in play. I think some fans, I don't know what it is. Sloane is commentating at the French Open right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At least part of the team.
Not to top 10, Ghosty. Raducanu never made the top 10. I think, it was like
No,
150.
she did. He was there for like a week or two. Raducanu?
She got there?
Yeah, she got to the top 10.
Oh, okay, never mind. Anyway, she didn't get there after the US Open directly, so she got there later. But yeah, Boison's jump is bigger, just strictly ranking wise. But definitely Sloane would be more, and maybe we'd have to check some of these like 2000-ish comebacks from
Serena, maybe
Kaisers
2018 or something.
Serena could have done it at some point as well. Yeah. Depending on what was her first event back. But what wasn't her first event back? Wasn't it like the French with the catsuit, or
Indian Wells, maybe?
Or maybe even earlier, yeah. So probably not Serena. At least not in this instance. She could have had something prior. But yeah, Sloane definitely one of the contenders for that. Anyway, we're just one game away for Djokovic now. Obviously, he hasn't had that many chances recently to get that second break on the Zverev serve, but let's see if he can push for it, or maybe he'll just have one of these games that players sometimes have where they're like, yeah, I'm gonna try to serve it out.
I just feel like if you have one weakness, Djokovic is like the perfect guy to like sort of dissect you, because he'll just pick it apart.
Yeah, he does that very well to all these guys we mentioned, especially from the 90s, I suppose.
I mean, these matches are more comfortable for him now than some of the newer guys coming up.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I don't know if guys like Fritz, Zverev, Tsitsipas, Rude will be able to score these big wins as they maybe would hope so, as Djokovic is phasing out. Like, he might just phase out on his own without these guys actually getting the scalp.
Very possible. I think if he does phase out, it's gonna be more because he can't compete with Sinner or Alcaraz, right? Like when he's saying these things that I'm gonna keep going until I feel like I can compete with other top players. I feel like he's way more talking about Carlos and Yannick rather than Zverev and Medvedev and the likes, right?
Yeah.
Because the match that we're watching right now, he could probably win it in a year's time if it goes like exactly the same, because his fitness is not getting tested here. It's just more about how smart he is, how versatile he is, he's just got a great skill set to make the flaws in Zverev's game come out. He is gonna miss this drop shot though, so it's 5-4, and after the change of ends, last chance for Zverev to stay in the match. He needs to break Djokovic. Has not done that in a while, right? Only once? First set?
Just once. Just the first game of the match. That's all.
Just the first set.
And so now Djokovic will serve for it. And honestly, a pretty comfortable 4-set win. If he does. This is nothing like the 4-setter he won against Alcaraz at the Australian Open. Even though you could criticize parts of Alcaraz's performance there, Djokovic was pushed a lot more in that one.
Yeah, scoreboard wise, it looks the same, but it's
But-
not the same at all.
Yeah. Like physically, that took so much more out of Novak than this match right here.
This parody account recently is making a lot of numbers, right? That tennis center,
Yeah.
and this
It's
made me
fooling a
laugh.
lot of people. It's fooled Tennis Channel. It's fooled some other networks.
Yeah, like some of their content is pretty controversial. Like today, for example, they posted about something about or maybe yesterday about the Rothenberg Zverev lawsuit, and like a lot of people believed it again. But this one made me laugh because they just posted the video from the point, the 41 shot rally, and they just say Zverev plays the point of the match against Djokovic, 41 shot rally. Take a bow, Sasha.
That's pretty funny.
I love this one, yeah. Some of the quotes that they're posting, yeah, it's unbelievable that people fall for that.
Okay, so we're 2 points away from another RG semi for Djokovic.
And also the streak of Zverev ending. He had a chance to reach it 5 times in a row. Could have been pretty insane achievement, but well, this time it
Well,
looks...
one of the streaks is also alive, right? Djokovic since 2022 at this venue.
Well, I would even say, yeah. But even Djokovic since 2009 at this venue is just insane, right?
Yeah, but like consecutively, I don't think he's so that's 7 plus 6 for the Olympics plus 4 last year, right? Plus 5 here.
Yeah.
Well, that's like 22 match wins in a row at RG.
Yeah, 123. Won 4 matches last year. Won the Olympics, and this would be the 22nd, I guess. Yeah. No, he's just gonna drop shot Zverev to death. And it is a good tactic, obviously, in this match. He's won like
some good defending here in this 30-15 point. I think he's just going to throw up these moon balls, and it's like Zverev isn't doing anything with these, and he's just going to drop shot him again, and it's just going to be perfect because Zverev can barely get there. Wow. Look, whether or not all this stuff will work against Sinner, it definitely won't work at this rate. But he has some options that he can go to. He has.
Yeah, we'll chat about them in a second when we're doing the post match and preview. I guess let's leave that for then.
Yeah.
But for now, 40-15 Djokovic, last 2 points. He goes for a drop shot again. One time it works, one time it doesn't. Does the match have any more left for us? Let's see. At least Zverev kick-started the rally. Hits a pretty aggressive forehand. Where has that been the entire match? And actually hits another one. So gonna save the first match point. The crowd is going wild, I'm sure. 3 hours and 11 minutes in. One more match point for Djokovic. Hasn't been broken since the opening game of the match, not even the opening set. I just remembered that it was the very opening game of the match.
The very opening game, yeah. But actually, even in that game, it was Djokovic who missed that forehand, and then I don't remember what happened on the break point, but
yeah, I think it was just like a long rally that Zverev won due to an error of sorts. Well, the return is again in play on the second match point. Zverev hitting with some good depth now. I think he's probably going to win the point again. Oh my, okay, if it ended on a smash, that would have been very fitting. If it ended on a smash, of course, I mean by Alexander Zverev, and if he missed it. He does not, though, so we are deuce. Well, this is the beauty of the tennis scoring system. In a way, we might not be close to finishing this match. We might still be here in 2 hours from here. Well, 2 hours, maybe not, but an hour and a half. But obviously, we can just end this in a minute as well if Novak wins the next 2 points. But you can see how like the pressure kind of came off Zverev on the last 2 rallies. So much more proactive, so much deeper. Some of them were maybe even a little, too close for comfort. But nonetheless, it's some of the better hitting he's done over the last hour or so. And it's just coming too late, too late. Well, how effectively will Novak close this out? For now, he sets up another match point with a good serve and volley.
Yeah, and the serve did not even need to be that good. You know why? Because Zverev is so far back.
Yeah. The volley didn't need to be that good. The serve didn't need to be that good. But both things actually were pretty perfect.
They were. It was. Yeah.
Match point number 3. And again, Zverev is in the point.
That 41 shot rally is pretty hilarious. That kind of sums up their entire career.
Another very fitting way to end the match would have been if it ended with a long backhand cross-court trade where like it's Novak finding the drop shot or redirecting first. But no, actually this time Novak misses into the net, which is definitely not happening too much over the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
3 match points saved by Zverev.
A little bit of finishing line nerves.
Jesus Christ. You remember what Bublik said? That like if he got broken at 5-4 in the 4th set, he would have been done and he would have lost the match. I don't think it's quite the case with Novak.
He said 7-5-6-2 max.
Yeah, I don't think with Novak it's not quite like that. I'm sure he.
And guess what he does again? Something that has worked a million times this entire match.
Serve and volley, and this one was actually much tougher as well.
It was a good return.
Of the body, yeah.
He got it right at his feet. But Djokovic, he is very good at these kind of plays. Oh my goodness. By the way, there was also a big difference between how well Djokovic was volleying last year at Wimbledon and the Olympics. Because in the Wimbledon final, he was missing a lot of these volleys. Ooh.
Okay. Well, at least the last game is delivering us a ton of excitement. Match point number 4. I said that it would be very fitting if Djokovic ended it on a drop shot. I said that it would be very fitting if Zverev ended it on a missed smash. Both things had a chance of happening here.
Oh my goodness.
But actually, no. Zverev is in time, and Zverev hits the slightly mishit smash, I think. So
Dude, I feel like we're watching the same points over and over again.
They are playing the same points, and that's actually not like that's kind of by design, right? That's not random because the entire match they're playing the same points all over again.
Hey, guess what? Djokovic is going to serve and volley again. to Djokovic's forehand? No, I'm kidding. I don't know yet, but would it really surprise you if you did?
Zverev plays the same point every single time, and Djokovic plays the same point too, but he knows exactly how to like abuse that.
Yeah.
And this time actually he goes T, so no serve and volley in that case, but it's enough.
And this
Zverev
time
was probably
Djokovic is
expecting that out wide
yeah,
serve.
exactly. Oh my goodness, he's so smart. He's so smart.
So match point number 5 for Djokovic. Can he finally close it out?
Still no break point for Zverev, right?
This game now.
Yeah, he had one earlier in the set though.
Yes, the 41 shot rally. And again, no 3 points on break point on match point number 5. Sorry. Backhands cross court. How else? First one to do something. It is Novak. Drop shot. Obviously, it happens. Who puts it way long? It's not Novak Djokovic. It is Alexander Zverev. So finally, after 5 match points, 3 hours and 15 minutes of a good battle, Novak Djokovic survives, wins in 4, and expertly makes the flaws of Zverev's game come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's done it without expending that much energy. He's done it in a somewhat efficient way, very surgically, very much dissected Zverev after losing that first set, after seeming like this was going to be a slog, a 4 or 5 hour match. It's going to take a lot for Djokovic to come back. It actually didn't take all that much. It took one poor game from Zverev at 1-2 and one key hold at 3-1 where he saved a break point. He started sort of maneuvering the ball around the court. He started getting Zverev way off position. He started using the slice. So he did a lot of great things, net points, drop shots. And Zverev didn't really have an answer. He had no answer, really. He kind of kept playing the same points over and over again. He was kind of hoping, I think, in the fourth set as well, that Djokovic's level would dip a little bit. And to some extent, Djokovic did get tight in the final game. It took him 5 match points, but in the end, he was still quite far away, Zverev. And so just like that, he's going to reach another major semifinal past the age of 38. And he joins this list of Ken Rosewall, Pancho Gonzalez, Jimmy Connors, Roger Federer, 2020 Australian Open, and here.
Nick, do you really think that when I said that in the group chat, I was serious? I think the next message about Zverev being very confident on his forehand side should have given you a clue. Although I did think that Alexander Zverev was quite likely to win this one, absolutely. First set only really convinced me that it might be the case. The serving was great. He was out-rallying Djokovic. He was confident in all the long backhand trades. And then suddenly when, that ends, when Novak is just exposing the fact that Zverev is so predictable, the hitting being so linear, middle of the court, you can see that, Novak is not really getting stretched wide to corners. There's nothing like that happening. Zverev is just not hitting with that sort of width on the ball. And Novak starts exposing the flaws of Zverev's game, the fact that he doesn't have that ability to break up any rhythm very well. I mean, the drop shot obviously stands out. The fact that he always gets to redirect first and is amazing at that as well. Serving wise, I don't think there was a massive advantage for either player, which is also good for Novak, I think, in this one. And he just starts making Zverev look like a player who's, I don't know, like a junior, like somebody who, shows up on the stage and doesn't actually have that much experience. Whereas, of course, Sasha has already been at these stages so many times and, should have a little bit more of a micro adjustment potential in the matches. He does not. And from the break in the third set for about 30, 40 minutes, he also looked completely defeated. Like Novak just made him almost cry on the court. That's how it looked. Zverev was done. Mentally, he was fried. And he gave it a better fight in the last few games. Have to appreciate that a little, but at the same time, it was just still more of the same. It was just yeah, he was chasing down drop shots. He was hitting backhands cross court in the same predictable manner without ever going for any shot, really. So he lost this match because he is a flawed player, because his game has limitations, and because Novak knows exactly how to abuse them. And the fact that he's 38 just did not matter. In 2 years' time, I can see this match happening again. Like it would actually be possible. Maybe he would bring something different, Zverev. Maybe Djokovic wouldn't execute it as perfectly. I don't know. But like today's match, it didn't really matter that Djokovic is probably like 5 years past his physical prime. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it when it comes to Zverev and Djokovic. That's what we saw today. How, where does it put us in terms of the semifinals against Sinner? It was not the longest match. It's not going to be something that's going to like drain Novak. But does it matter? Isn't Yannick just like a younger version of Djokovic in many ways?
Yeah, in many ways, the last year and a half, we're seeing, the Djokovicification of Sinner, where he's just, super reliable, like a ball machine, kind of just extremely good at hitting a super elite ground strokes, movement. Everything is sort of very much reminds me of Djokovic in his prime, but he's hitting the ball harder. Whereas Djokovic, what he can rely on is his, all court game, his ability to sort of disrupt the patterns, his experience, his match win streak in this place, like all of those intangibles, I feel like are going to have to come to the fore, because all this like time and space that he had today against Zverev, where he was able to kind of execute those flaws, like you said, brings Zverev forward, expose his lack of ability to win points from the baseline outside of the serve and be offensive. Sinner's not going to have any problem doing any of that. So Djokovic will be inevitably having to do a lot more running and defending. And the question is just, can he withstand that pace? Can he withstand the baseline exchanges enough to where he can get those drop shots in play and, make it more of an all-court match? Because if he can, then I think he has a shot at making it competitive, or at least making Sinner work for it.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm actually saying this right now, but I think I also have some sort of a post-Djokovic great win adrenaline rush. I actually think it will be competitive now.
I do. Yeah, it should be, right?
Just watching this today, he's the master. I mean, he's the professor. He's the GOAT, and he's gonna do all it takes, and he's gonna know exactly how he wants to play this. Obviously, again, the serve has to be on point. The aggression has to be higher than today in terms of the forehand. He won't have that comfort of just redirecting first, of being always the first to strike, because Sinner is not going to give him that. I don't think the drop shot will be as important, as useful, because there simply won't be as much space to play it. But yeah, indeed, he is more of he's way more versatile as an all-court player than Yannick still. Physically, somebody says here, I think Joao just a second ago, that he could outlast Sinner. I mean, Sinner could still be pretty vulnerable physically sometimes. So maybe that's not even that bad. But obviously, Novak just cannot get it with him into like all these rallies that we didn't get to see at all today, which is just, sprinting to one corner, hitting a great shot on the run. Then you have to be there again. And like both players are trading the kind of ping pong intensity points like Sinner and Alcaraz tend to do in their matchup. I don't think he can play like this against Sinner, and he will not attempt to. So like, to me, his success rate, his potential effectiveness in this is just how well he's going to be able to stay away from that, not play that sort of game with Yannick, basically not allow Yannick to show that he is in some ways at least a younger version of himself, because Djokovic is definitely the more complete player still.
Yes.
But yeah, it's gonna be quite amazing. I actually do like the prospects of this matchup a little bit more right now than I did 3 hours ago. So thank you, Alexander Zverev, for that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I to be honest, I was excited about the prospect pre-tournament as well. Just because when I saw Djokovic's draw, I think that's the thing that made me feel like, okay, he's going to get to the quarters pretty comfortably, and we'll see from there. And it all kind of depended on this performance, and the fact that he exposed Zverev so handily, it makes me think the semi will be competitive. It does make me think, we could be in for something. And I must also say that Sinner has never won a match over 4 hours in his career. He does have physical dips. He does
How many has he
struggle
played?
5 or 6 or 7. I mean, he doesn't get into many
Okay.
of them, right?
No,
So
that's enough sample size. Yeah, I was just thinking how many, is it like 2, 3? I guess obviously US Open against Alcaraz was last year 4 hours too, over 4 hours.
Medvedev, Wimbledon.
That was over 4 hours. Oh wow.
Yeah, and then also same with
Khachanov, US Open.
Khachanov. He never
I don't
played
know. I'm
Khachanov.
guessing. I mean, I
But
don't
like
know.
none of his 3 slams that he won, he never went 4 hours with anybody. Even the Medvedev comeback was like 3 hours 45.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was thinking
Yeah.
probably that Medvedev Wimbledon win also wouldn't be 4 hours, but it could be. I was just guessing to be honest. I'll
Well,
check that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
But-
yeah, it should be a fair few matches.
But he doesn't have a whole lot of experience being dragged into the trenches because, well, he's won so easily. You know, he's lost 36 games en route to the semi. Whereas Djokovic is a little more battle tested, at least in the quarterfinals. He's got, he's got so much experience of going 5 sets and just
Yeah,
he still seems like a master in this format. And he hasn't, at some point we were thinking maybe the best of 5 thing could be a factor later in the second week for Djokovic. Like it could hurt him negatively. I don't think that anymore. I really don't.
It's not a big sample, to be honest. It's the Altmaier match as well, obviously.
Well, with his
That's
Zverev match
fine.
also at the US Open.
Zverev at the US Open, yes.
Tsitsipas, Australia,
Wimbledon against Medvedev was 4 hours on the dot.
Yeah.
And Tsitsipas Australian Open as well. Khachanov that didn't even get there, 3.5 hours.
I guess Alcaraz last year, the French, Alcaraz 2022 US Open. Like
Yeah, I'm not sure about
sizes.
Alcaraz at the French last year because
I'm pretty sure that was over
doesn't have it.
It should have been like 4 hours 10. At
Probably
least.
was because it's a clay match still. I would imagine it was, yeah. But I don't know where to like check it easily, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe score or something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that with who was it here? Ghibli, I think. Oh, Ghibli, see you. Welcome to you, by the way. Long time no see. Although you were on the stream a couple of days ago as well. But anyway, no, that wasn't the comment I wanted to highlight. This was the one. Yeah, I mean, it's not useful in terms of the tactics. They won't be the same. But, just seeing that Novak got through it in good physical shape and that he was able to think like this on the court, you'd think he will have some extra stuff as well prepared for the Sinner matchup. But of course, it will be much more difficult. What does Novak need to do to get the match to go 4 hours? I still don't think he should try to get it to go 4 hours, to be honest. It just might not be as done as one might think if that happens, I suppose.
Yeah, like what I'm trying to say is that I don't think it's like a huge advantage for Sinner if it goes to that point.
Yes, that's what we were trying to say, rather than that he should try to make it 4 hours, because I don't think he should, not at all, against someone who's like 15 years younger or whatever. Also, maybe. Yeah, I was gonna also come back to a Zverev question because I have a similar one, but let's do with Matthew first. In the context of his career, where does this Zverev loss rank? I guess in terms of like what most depressing. Where does it rank? I mean, there's still the team US Open one. There's the Medvedev Australian Open one from last year. Behind these two,
Taylor Fritz US Open last year, quarterfinals.
Interesting points. I mean,
there's a lot of them. That's the thing. Like there's so many. The one against Steph, like in 2021. The one against Djokovic in 2021 US Open. Like he's lost a lot of matches like this. I guess this was maybe the most depressing one against Djokovic. Oh, I would say that. Like of the
easily, yeah.
Of the 4, and maybe at RG in a long time too. This is the first time in 5 years that he hasn't made the semis. So.
Yeah, the matches against Fritz were terrible, I agree, but it kind of felt like, okay, here's a quirky opponent who's decent, but, and just kind of outplays Zverev at his own game. And yes, it stopped him from going deeper in slams, but I don't know, there was just never that sort of like defeated feeling to it. Today, the way I saw Zverev just like react to this mentally, I think it has to be one of the most depressing ones. Sinner Australia, was it more depressing? I guess, Nick, because
I'll give you one that I just thought of right now.
Was so long, was so huge. Yeah,
the 2022 Australian Open. He played Denis Shapovalov.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
gonna
that.
say like the 4th round or something. I think that's the
6-4,
worst I've seen him
6-4,
play.
6-4. Yeah.
Yeah, because like everybody was expecting him to do something
But
big.
I think it's worse to like treat it, like a bad day, basically. Like, sorry,
Mhm.
worse. I think it's easier to treat it like a bad day that Shapovalov won
But
when you
mostly
lose
because
without
he's
ever
so
having the
good
chance.
against lefties for the most part, and he's so good in a matchup like that you would expect. You would expect better,
Yeah.
but I guess yeah. In terms of like later in the tournament, probably that's not going to
I mean, he
be.
just played super passively with the forehand, but yeah, it wasn't that late in the tournament, and you can also just treat it as a bad day at all, as a bad day,
I
and
guess.
that's it really. Was this similar to the lead up to Djoko Sinner at Australia? I think we had more concerns regarding Djokovic then.
Yeah, because coming in, didn't he have like some kind of a like
He
he
had,
went?
yeah, some illness thing, and we had
Yeah,
probably more concerns about Djokovic, but also Sinner obviously was before
yeah.
winning his first slam. We weren't really sure if his amazing disposition in the latter
The other
half
thing
of
that
23 was going to be maintained. So I think Djokovic was in a weaker spot and Sinner was also in one.
yeah,
So
because for me that's the worst match I've seen Djokovic play like in a slam, like the one that he lost to Sinner in the
could
semifinal,
be
because he like
for
literally did
two
not
sets,
show
he
up.
was absolutely unable to compete with
Yeah,
anybody
something
there.
something was definitely wrong with him on the day. I don't know what it was, but I just feel like Sinner was playing well, but he didn't need to play great. He just needed to be solid.
Zverev would routine him
Uh,
that day. No.
I think many players would beat him the level that he had in the first 2 sets that day.
It's
Just
very
surprising,
possible,
but
yes. But also, of course, it's tennis. Like the only shot we can control fully is the serve. So it also matters what the opponent throws at you. And the other, actually, I'm gonna get this one from Nick first, but I also have one more question before we end. Does the fact Clay is Sinner's least favorite surface matter in the upcoming match? Not that it matters against anyone other than Alcaraz, apparently.
I think a little bit, right? Maybe Djokovic can use that, like a little bit more
Yeah.
time to kind of get his returns into play, get his forehand working. Like just that extra time just allows Djokovic to use his variety more. Whereas on a faster court, he might just get rushed, like in Shanghai, for instance.
I think it does if you can get Sinner away from like these favorite baseline patterns of his, and very few players can. So for Djokovic specifically, it could matter, yes. But in general, I don't think that the people who say that Sinner is still not that good on clay are any even like close to right. Yes, Sinner Djokovic will be at night, 8:15 p.m. local time, just like this one was. It's going to be the second semifinal. And one more question about Alexander Zverev. Is this where we officially say no slams for you?
I mean, like I said, the longer it goes on, the harder it's going to get. So at this point, I'm if I were to say it's under 50% for me. Definitely it keeps going down. Like it's before this tournament, I was thinking 50%. Now I'm at like 40%, 35%, 30. Like it's just going to get harder and harder. Which would be pretty insane because you look at the rest of his resume, right? It's not somebody you would think would have 0, but that's how it goes. You got to play more.
Matthew, the other day somebody said in the chat, I think it was Joao maybe, that the second men's semifinal will be a night match as well. That they changed it or something like that. Yeah, I mean, isn't it kind of like a Stefanos Tsitsipas thing? Because in 2023, he lost in the final of the Australian Open to Novak and was, had no chance basically. And I think by like maybe the middle of that year, we were saying that even though he was in the Australian Open final, it feels kind of weird to say it because of that, but that window is gone. And it's kind of like that for Zverev right now too, that, on the one hand, he was in the Australian Open final, but also you watch this and you're just stuck thinking like, how is he ever going to beat these guys? And I'm not talking about Djokovic only. Djokovic might not be there in like a year or two, but Alcaraz, Sinner, in a slam, if he's also going to be like, they're not going to be outplaying him the same way, but how is he going to step up against them? And I know this was always a concern, but you just, as you said, with every single loss, it's just going down. I don't know. It's way below 50% for me right now. Let's just say that.
He would need a situation where Sinner and Alcaraz and Djokovic are not in the semis.
And then he can still lose to somebody like Taylor Fritz or Yeah.
So that's that tells you, or like Musetti, Musetti can beat him again. I wouldn't be
On
surprised.
clay, on grass, yeah. On hard courts, probably too.
Like maybe, I mean, he beat him in Vienna indoors, which shouldn't happen ideally. So
Yeah, Joao Tsitsipas especially, of course, he's got a horrible one against Rune and Fields, right? The head-to-head, like 0-4.
by the way, even Arthur Fils is somebody that can challenge Zverev on a regular basis. Like Francisco Cervelo is a problem for him. So it's not just these guys. Draper will probably beat him at some point.
Draper would be the favorite over Zverev right now, I think, in most circumstances at the slams, yes.
And also, even though Medvedev is like completely not in his prime anymore, like he still likes the Zverev matchup. Like Tsitsipas on a given day can beat him. Like there's just so many players that I feel like on a given day could get Zverev, even in best of 5. His best chance seems to be RG, So and at the same time, he still looks pretty far away here. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a good day for Zverev and his supporters. That's for sure. Just to look like this mentally, it's rough. If it's just sort of like an game is limited, Djokovic exposes that well, sure. But that patch where he was just like so mentally defeated for about 50 minutes, I think that's the worrying part, really. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably it then. Can be competitive. Ghosty is not. I think he will win, by the way. I still don't really buy into Djokovic winning against Sinner. I mean, since the very start of this tournament, Sinner Alcaraz was the only final we could ever imagine, and it remains the case. 2 matches away from it. But I am more excited about the prospect of Sinner Djokovic now than I would have been 4 hours ago. Let's just say that. I said before that I don't think Novak will win 25, but it's mostly because Sinner and Alcaraz are too strong in best of 5 in my mind. If the draw opens up, he's still capable of beating most of the field. Anyway, I will be back on the stream in 2 days' time for this second semifinal, Djokovic Sinner. So, well, at least I'm more excited for it now than I was like 4 hours ago. And yeah, thank you, Vansh, for showing up for the last 2 sets and enjoying this Zverev collapse with me, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting to watch how it all unfolded. And we'll be back on another stream soon. So yeah, thanks for all the comments and everything.
Yeah, thank you to everybody in the chat, and of course keep tuning into the content. We're gonna have a watch along, I think, for every single singles match from here, every single singles match. Not didn't sound too great. Anyway, for every singles match from here, and yeah, of course, thank you for 16k subs, and we will keep going with it. So yeah, see you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.